but I do have some questions.
There are more questions than answers.
Radio Commands, talk today.
If you're ready to talk, we're willing to listen.
Well, I really enjoy this program today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
May God bless every person.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome. Thank you so much for joining us here in this edition of Talk Today. 949-8037 or 1-800-534-8255. We invite you to be a part of it. So stay tuned for Talk Today.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today, the Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program. We ask our listeners to avoid statements or comments which are abusive, derogatory, malicious, or defamatory. Do not use any indecent language or make any statement which is false or misleading. Email talktoday@candw.ky or call 1-800-534-8255.
Courtesy of Flow.
Cayman's #1 network that connects you to your world like never before.
Let your voice be heard. Once again, here's your host, Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome. Thank you so much for joining us here, and we invite you to be a part of our discussion today. Just a quick reminder, we have some open line until 1 o'clock, and at 1, His Excellency the Governor has been very, very gracious, and I think as we've seen through the press conferences, our government, elected, appointed, and otherwise, have been stellar. I wouldn't say sterling, but stellar in their efforts. As a country, we certainly have been very responsive, so let's continue in our civility, in our wonderful disposition towards each other. So His Excellency will join us at 1 p.m. in the studio, God's willing. We get a chance to have that conversation as well. And the government has another press conference scheduled for 2 p.m. today. Again, sharing information as timely as possible, giving the country an opportunity to be able to hear directly from our elected leadership and to be informed, as they say, firsthand. We will, carry that press briefing live at 2 p.m. here on Radio Cayman. CIG TV will do so with the greatest respect. Let's ensure that we continue to, one, get our information, whether it's the local information that we're looking for, or whether it's the stuff in the region or internationally, from as best as possible, sources that we believe to be credible, to be timely. And any conjecture and speculation that we add to it, well, that perhaps is part and parcel of human nature. But, when we share, if we're having verified, say, hey, listen, this hasn't been verified. Maybe verify it first, take a few extra minutes if you can. I've always believed in, trust but verify. The other thing to look at is to, as much as possible, let us not get so paralyzed by fear. Let us not get caught up in a panic. It's good to see that, I think the Honorable Premier's words yesterday have been calming. From what I've gathered, it's only been, less than 24 hours. The supermarkets haven't seen the level of sort of panic buying. Now, that could be a number of things. It's not a joke nor an attempt to jest. Well, we run out of money, so we're not able to buy anymore. Maybe we've already stocked up. Maybe people are already making preparations, those who would consider it more prudent to exit the jurisdiction. As a friend would always share, better to punish in your own country than another man's. So there will be some who would believe it better to return home to their family and closest friends and loved ones to be there with them to sort of weather this next season in our lives. If we're going to remain here, though, no matter who we are, what jobs, how we look, how tall or short we are, how nice our hair is, whatever it is that we think may make us particularly special or otherwise, let's recognize that we're in this boat together. And there are a couple of ways it could go. We could devolve into an anarchy and all sorts of nonsense, and nobody wins. Trust me. I don't have to watch those movies. I'm not a fan of them, not intend to watch them, but for friends that do, nobody wins. You sitting in a theater seat, you may find it to be entertaining and enjoyment, but Think of it if you were a participant in the Hunger Games and you were on the end of the sword that wasn't the one that was holding the handle. What would you be like? The other side of the coin is the one that is easier. We work together. One of the premier has shared with us the importance of, listen, not just for our own protection, but if we were to think of ourselves, because many of us, by nature, humans are said to be selfish. Well, isolate ourselves so that we can protect ourselves, and by so doing, protect our loved ones and then the wider community. Not only our elderly and the most vulnerable because of their underlying health conditions, but if we were to self-isolate, we would do a number of things: recover much more quickly, remain healthy, perhaps not have to, devolve into a society that the government has imposed curfews and quarantine centers, that there's martial law. Now, many of us get into those, sort of speculative measures. We're seeing behaviors. We're probably, again, watching, international media on different sites and grouping chats and the like, and seeing what is potentially possible or seeing what has transpired in other areas. Words from leadership like draconian measures may be more easily utilized and accepted now. The social scientists amongst us can have discussions. Perhaps maybe they'll wait till after the fact to talk about it. But for the time being, I think it would be without any great sense of being disrespectful to say, let's remain civil, let's remain as calm as we possible, let's remain in a state of being cooperative with each other, thinking as clearly as we can. There are some of us probably saw a video. If I saw it, I always say if it's online, I saw it somewhere, somebody shared it with me. I mean, everybody else in the world must have seen it, where this family is documenting, put it nicely. Some would just say, they're boasting, the wonderful stockpile of provisions that they have. Now, it doesn't matter whether that was just done for jest, whether that was next door to you where you live, or whether that was, very, 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 very far place away. But if you find yourself that you have more and things were to get, really, really bad, let's always, remember our mantra: share and share alike. So as a people, we can and we will, overcome this. This isn't anything that is insurmountable. We look around, buildings are still standing. We still have, many, many conveniences. But the one thing above all we have is the ability to draw on each other. And if we do that, and again, a very rational, reasonable, civilized, loving way, this too shall pass. And we shall not just overcome, but emerge even better and stronger. And we can get into the politics. We can then get into the banter. We can then return to the stadiums and watch our favorite teams compete. We can go to our children's graduations. We can do all the things that we have, perhaps to now, taken for granted. And maybe then we'll start to once again appreciate what isn't just, what we call the simple things in life, that they are significant. So the weddings and the receptions and celebrations, we so, eagerly anticipate. And sometimes, sadly, we go, another function to go to again. Well, maybe it becomes an opportunity for us to truly prioritize what's important. Maybe when we look around and we see the environment, whether it's the beautiful beaches that we have, the remote dike roads that we could run in and walk and ride our bikes, maybe it's just that little thing that is somehow been abandoned in the corner of your subdivision that was supposed to have been the public open space that somehow the developer, again, underlying greed and the like, more money, more, but it's left there. Perhaps now the community will plant a garden. Maybe it will be not just ornamental, maybe it'll be something edible. Maybe it's not a garden of that nature. Maybe it's one where the younger ones in the community or the elderly can go and play a game of checkers, or the young ones can come and play on the swings. But again, in a safe, supervised way. I've been saying for the longest time, especially more since the year started, that some here and they think, idealistic. Well, it isn't. Where is our value and where is our wealth, if not in the health and the strength of our community? Well, I believe the phones are up and running. And with the continued kind compliments and support of Flow, They have allowed those who can access to do so toll free. 1-800-534-8255. Those that can't, well, 949-8037. Likewise, you can certainly send us a WhatsApp, 925-3261. Now, DJ Silver Fox is in the studio next door to me, and he'll tell you, boy, this guy look like he's frustrated today. But we got to make this thing work, man. We're going to make this thing work. You call, and you go, but that's not Susan. No, he's going to say, no, Susan isn't like this. No, but what he's going to be able to tell you equally, hey, we allow as much as possible access to our studios as we invite you to call and share. I know many of you are very, 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 at this time, preoccupied in your thoughts, in your minds, and also in your actions. But let's go to the phones. Welcome, good afternoon. Thank you for calling.
Yeah, afternoon, Sterling.
Afternoon. How are you today?
I am good,
Good to hear from you, and pray that we all continue to be good and get better. All right.
Yeah, I was just curious. I think maybe the government didn't realize or didn't. I don't know for whatever reason. What about the diabetic people that are working in the government? Is there anything in place for those people to self-isolate or get some, I don't know, get time to do? Well, I really think they should all be self-isolated if you haven't got it, because, there's some chronic diseases like diabetes and things.
Yeah. Perhaps that's something that we can maybe somehow, the press briefing isn't until an hour and a half away, and maybe that's something that we can somehow get the health minister, the health ministry, perhaps to emphasize. I don't have it to hand, but I remember reading when they were talking about some of the spaces, and in particular at the HSA, that would be sort of restricting services. The diabetic clinic was not one of them. So I think the emphasis on the importance of making sure dialysis and the diabetic patients have access, that service continues, is there. And you were right. It is something that maybe those of us who don't know about it perhaps don't understand it as much as we try to educate how serious it is,
Yeah, because it's very serious for chronic diseases, especially diabetes.
Yeah.
And in our workplace, I know we have like 6-7 people there that have those. Plus, there's one that also was being treated for cancer and diabetes. So
wow, yeah. So you're now, if I may, then you're looking at that individual who may end up having to self-isolate, but then is a diabetic, and perhaps not just dialysis, but perhaps even initially the other checks and services needed for that patient.
Yeah, like I say, I think it's maybe something that true, that this thing is so varied that that'll be a good idea for them to put something in place for those employees who are suffering from those chronic diseases.
There are a lot of questions. I don't say this.
And maybe you can find out, or you can ask, because like I say, I don't think it was intentional. I think it's just maybe something that they didn't.
Yeah. I think you're right. And let's see if we can somehow put that into a way that maybe can find its way for the health ministry at this briefing to address, or perhaps through some press release that even shared with us, and we could read, just to give that level of comfort and reassurance, so that people who are diabetic or who have loved ones can have another sort of level of comfort, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, man. Well, stay safe, and let's hope that each of us can call on the other. Maybe it's to share toilet paper even sometimes, huh? The new currency.
Yeah, the thing is, if you don't have it, though.
Well, I'm...
Because the people were literally buying the whole shelves out there. So.
There's going to be a time after this when we're going to really laugh publicly about this, but maybe I can say that, as we reevaluate our own supplies, and if you have, so much in your house that you're tripping over it, just in short order.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a thought to be considered.
Yeah, man. Remember your neighbor, and what they say, share and share alike, right?
Amen.
All right.
Man.
Well, listen, take care and be safe, and continue to be in prayer. All right.
Yeah, and remember just to give them a quick question on it.
Yeah. Now, for you and for others, so that I perhaps didn't, if I wasn't clear, the press briefing is going to be taking place, with the government. Here at Radio Cayman, we're going to be sort of one of the conduits to make sure that the country and globally can hear it. So we're not there. It's not going to be here at Radio Cayman. We're not there. Of course, we'll have one of our news team. I think Miss Rankin Gonzalez probably going to cover that for us as she did yesterday. But beyond that, it's going to be on CIG TV as well.
Yeah.
So we'll see if we can get that somehow framed across, and maybe even before then give them a heads up. All right. Anything else you want to share with us, sir?
No, that was it.
Okay. And again, His Excellency is scheduled to come in at 1 p.m. today. So if you have a thought, anything you want to ask, let us know as well. All right.
Well, that would have been my question anyway. So.
Okay.
Let's think it out loud,
Yeah. Listen. Together, if we put our heads, in concert, we'll find that we can come up with some good ideas.
Exactly.
If we're willing to be receptive to another man's perspective. All right.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right. All the best to you, my friend.
All right. You too, man. Good.
Take care. Listen, this is a wonderful place, and these are times like this where we can see the true strength and caliber, of our metal, and test the character of our people. But I have confidence that we're gonna, show that we are great because we show kindness. Now, the Honorable Premier, as we go to this next break, shared yesterday. Listen, if you want to leave, you got until Sunday as you evaluate that. Some will realize that it's a small place, and it doesn't take much analysis to realize that small spaces can only accommodate so many. Some people may be better off one way or the other, but if we're going to be here, let's make sure we're not only in good cheer, but we're civil. All right, we're going to pause and take a break. When we come back, let's have some more talk today. Stay tuned.
Start getting your debt under control with a debt consolidation loan from Fidelity Bank. At Fidelity, your loan decision is quick with no runaround. Plus, with competitive interest rates and fees, we will help you reduce your monthly payments and get you back to living again. Don't let the burden of overwhelming debt tie you down this year. Call Fidelity today and let's make it happen with a Fidelity Bank debt consolidation loan. Fidelity, we're good for you.
This is definitely one of the most lethal influenza viruses that we have seen so far.
Pandemic.
Pandemic.
It just takes one person to start an outbreak.
Just wish the COVID-19 virus would just go away. It is so disruptive. No school, no church, no sporting events, and no ag show in Cayman Brac. Stay safe, everybody. Wash your hands, rest well, pray a lot, and take vitamins.
Drink some carrot juice, coconut water, and beet juice to boost up your immune system.
When we talk about another flu pandemic happening, it's not a matter of if, but when.
Speaking of a boost,
NDC will be our guest this week to talk about Alcohol Awareness Month.
Join us this Wednesday from 4 to 5 p.m. right here on Radio Cayman, 89.9 FM, and you can also check us out on YouTube Live. And for Youth Flex, a program for all people by young people. Youth Flex, we're in touch.
Come get me some Lysol now.
Hi, I am Dr. Lee, Chief Medical Officer in the Ministry of Health. The Ministry and the Department of Public Health, along with our partners, are working hard to help protect residents from the novel coronavirus. Did you know that following travel advisories is especially helpful in controlling infections? So, avoid travel if you have a cough, flu-like symptoms, and a fever. It's also important to practice general infection prevention measures at all times. That means frequently wash your hands and avoid close contact with people suffering with acute respiratory symptoms. To read more about the Public Health's travel advisory and other updates, please visit hsa.ky.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back to Talk Today. Thank you for joining us. It is open line. Let's go to the phones. Good afternoon. Welcome.
Good afternoon, Grand Cayman. This is a Caymanian American calling you from Cayman Brac.
Good afternoon, Cayman. What's that song? Good afternoon, Houston. Good afternoon, Delta. Well, it's a pleasant good afternoon to Cayman Brac. How are you?
Very well. I just wanted to say that Rahm Emanuel was heard to say, never make a crisis go to waste. So, first of all, we are painting our house, and we are reading books. And also, I checked my prescriptions, and I have a month's supply left. So I called Cayman Airways today, and they have rescheduled us, our family, to go back to Florida on the 16th of April. So Cayman Airways will be shutting down, but apparently they will be starting back up to run to Florida around Easter. Okay?
Right.
So now is the time for us to think about what we're doing and make our plans. And as they say, fail to plan, plan to fail.
Yeah. What I mean for you, and I think as you're inferring, this is an excellent time, the next 3 weeks for us, even though our children will be at a school and there's going to be perhaps a testing period. We could teach our children many things, some of the things around the yard, how to, maybe look at changing the tire, servicing the car, perhaps even how to pull weeds, plant cassava. I mean, you never know. There are opportunities to teach them about financial planning and the like. So
that is exactly what someone sent me an email in regard to. If you have children, teach them to do chores, have them do the laundry, and be productive. And now is the time to tell your children about, should we say the 32 hurricane and how people survived and what you plan to do. Take stock of, your planning, plan your meals out, and be enjoying your family now,
Yeah,
So,
the sort of essential life skills that we probably have taken for granted so long, huh?
Right. And even though we mightn't be able to go to a restaurant or we mightn't be able to go to church on Sunday, I called someone in Grand Cayman and we had prayer. And we prayed for the leaders for wisdom. We pray for Mr. McKeeva Bush. We pray for Mr. Alden McLaughlin, Mr. Joey Hugh, and all of those, Miss Juliana O'Connor Connolly, and all of those in positions of authority. Each of us, it's our responsibility now to encourage each other to stand by our government and follow the instructions. Do not break quarantine, okay?
Yeah, that is so important.
We need to follow the instructions that we've been given. We are thankful that we have Dr. Velasamy on Cayman Brac. We are thankful for each of the people that are helping each other, and we are grateful. And let us, think on what's going on. We can use this as a time of reflection, and when we come out of this, we'll be stronger than ever. We can be happy. We can think about our memories with our families and just care for each other. We can be thankful that we have phone service, that here it is, I'm reaching you. And we can be thankful for Radio Cayman that we can hear you. So we hear you, and we are thankful for you. And I will hang up and listen now, okay?
Well, thank you. And if you had another minute and did not want to disconnect, we at some point wanted to kind of get a first-hand perspective of the last couple of days, starting right now. What is it like in the Brac? What is the mood of the people, the sort of the tone, the sentiments? How is it over there? Is it still fairly much the same as before? People going about their way? Is it?
I think people are really sticking to quarantine. Let me give you, for instance, you cannot visit the nursing home that is next to the hospital. You cannot visit the hospital, but that will change. So we can be thinking on being thankful for when a change will come. And in breaking quarantine is a bad thing. And we can keep quarantine now, and quarantine works, okay?
That is true.
Let us feel strong in doing that. But I think that I have been on the road, and I do not see people gathering. The administration building admin seems to be open today, but very few people out and about, okay?
I noticed that as well. The traffic seems to be here in Grand Cayman later. So if you notice it on the BRAC as well.
Oh, absolutely. And that we have no traffic problems on Cayman BRAC, okay?
Well, I have a good friend who has to travel because of work to the BRAC all the time, a couple of times a week. And he shared just recently, and it was just a reminder how beautiful the country is and how even more so Cayman BRAC. And his counterpart picks him up at the airport. They're driving about 90 seconds to get to where they need to go, just exaggerating. And a particular stop intersection, there was one car, and his driver was saying, all this traffic.
Right. Well, that's kind of the downside of things, in that Cayman BRAC has had a brain drain, in that people have gone to your big island for jobs, okay?
Yeah.
But I think that the government will be doing and have been doing good things to start and have good ideas about, how to jumpstart things when things, get a little bit slow. And I think we are thankful for Deputy Premier Kirkconnell and Honorable Juliana O'Connor Connolly and their efforts. And, we should just remember that it's our responsibility again to pray for our government, okay?
Indeed. And that is the thing I think we call us to pray for those in positions of leadership for them to have good counsel and wisdom. I thank you for sharing, and I trust that this, we'll see the wonderful rainbow at the end of this. All right.
We will, and again, thank you, Radio Cayman, that you are there, because there was a time when we only listened to Radio Jamaica, but now that we have Radio Cayman, we can hear a Caymanian voice like Susan Watson, who is originally a BRACer.
Yep, not just a Caymanian, but a BRACer as well, huh?
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And we can be thankful for you all. So let us stand together and remember that we uphold you all in prayer, and you have a wonderful week. And we will go beyond this.
Amen. Well, thank you, and blessings to you as well.
Have a blessed day.
Amen.
Bye.
All right, bye-bye. Let's take one more call. Welcome, good afternoon. You're on Talk Today.
Thank you.
And if you can, just go right ahead and turn off or step away from the radio. All right, for those who are joining us, thanks so much for listening. And equally thanks for sharing with us. Good afternoon.
Hello?
Hi, good afternoon.
Oh, Mr. Sterling, long time I haven't heard you.
Yeah, when I heard that you were enjoying life on the BRAC, so that's good stuff, man.
No, I was sick in Jamaica and just came back.
Oh, man.
A month ago, and I've been inside. I don't have the coronavirus. I got a whisker virus or something like that.
Well, I pray you'll be all right, man.
Yeah, doctor, and I can come out now.
Yeah.
I called today. I have a little message to give the people that came on in the world. That it's a way to get the cure, find a cure for the coronavirus. Now, I'm not joking. Hello?
I listening to you.
Okay. Now, I am very serious. And when I tell you, you will agree with me. So please don't cut me off.
Listen, be honest with you, I don't have a problem cutting people off if I had the button. No, the button is straight in front of me, but I don't. But equally, just so you know, and this is just me, I love conjecture and speculation if it's based in some sort of real-time sort of observation and analysis that it could lead to meaningful discussion. But things that have little or no value, that only inflame, or worse yet, incite people to, improper actions, they take up too much space and don't have no value. But let's indulge and see where it goes, but no promises, huh?
Yeah. Well, I tell you, if you do not agree with what I say, you might as well scrap your Bible and close the churches.
Well, I'll be honest with you, the behavior of some of us that go to churches, from those who preach to sit in the pew,
No.
we should probably do just that. But I would even go one step further, maybe take the Bible and really throw that at them. But that's just my thought. But let's hear you.
No, the same, Mr. Sterling.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I know my Bible, and I was studied some of the other religions.
Mm.
And all is, we have a great God. God is all powerful. And I want to quote a few things from the Bible that all these Christians say they believe in, right? Yes, whatever two of you agree on, it will be done in his name, right? It says, if you have faith as a grain of mountain seed, as a mustard seed, you can remove mountains. So I'm not sure whether, according to the people, now, the Bible is just a big lie, or nobody has any faith, or it is getting rid of the coronavirus is something that God can't do.
Mm-hmm.
I read a lot of the people in meditation. You lie down and you meditate on the power of your mind. You can do anything you want to.
Mm-hmm.
I read about Edgar Cayce, the sleeping prophet, who lay down.
You come back with him again?
Huh?
Edward Cayce.
He would go to sleep
he didn't have nothing to offer,
Huh?
He didn't have nothing to offer. I mean, he was proven to be a fraud.
That's just one part.
Jeez.
What's name, right?
Man, let sleeping dogs lie.
No, he healed thousands of people that doctors say couldn't cure, right? So what we are talking about now is healing the coronavirus.
So what's the cure for it?
For people to meditate and ask God for a solution to cure the virus.
Yeah.
Jesus said, if we don't receive because you don't ask.
Don't ask.
I've never heard anyone, even though a little while ago, I was praying for this one next one, but I have not heard anyone praying to the good Lord above to give us the wisdom to know how to cure this virus. And this is international. Every different religion, different race, colors, everything. And they all are scientists could soon find a cure. I mean, I don't know which God they're worshiping, but the one that I worship knows all things. He knows all the cures.
Mm-hmm.
And the people set a time each day for prayer and meditation, not jumping up and down and saying, oh, I love you so much, but then you pass Jesus on the street, because whatever you do for your fellow man, you're doing for him, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they're all fighting against each other. I wonder sometime if China, China found the cure, whether Americans would not even take the cure. Oh, no, we can't take it from you because you communists,
Mm-hmm.
I see the same thing with cancer. All this cancer research, we're looking for cure for cancer, yet if you eat almonds every day, you won't get cancer. They can't tell people that, we're making so much money on contributions.
Right, but I mean, okay, there are those who may have, for whatever reason, insensitive, their allergies or intolerances to certain things, nuts, for instance, right? And yes, there is the efficacy of almonds and the like. But how do we get from what you share into a point that actually can make the society stronger now? Granted.
There most of the wars going on are different religions fighting against each other.
Mm-hmm.
And God said to me, if they don't stop, they're fighting each other all in my name, because God is one. There's only one God.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And if these Muslims and Sheiks and Christians stop, if they do not stop fighting against each other, I got to show them who's the most powerful. I send these diseases among them that is sent among the Israelis years ago, and so many thousands of them died in one day because they had fallen away and they did not do what God told them to do. And this is the same thing that's happening now. They're not showing his love for the fellow man. They're fighting against it. Oh, my God is stronger than your God. It's complete stupidity, and they're destroying themselves. It's not God doing it. God put certain laws in place. As you do unto others, it's going to be done to you. And if you keep killing and bombing your fellow man because your God is better than theirs, the true God, the one that I worship, has put a law in place, and they get kill off themselves until they get down. You know, you have to lie down and meditate, fast and meditate, and beseech the good Lord above to stop this plague that is coming out throughout the world. And I not mean just Christians. Every religion need to get together. Right? All the different religions, because this is not particular who gets and who dies. It does not matter if you're Muslim or Sikh or Chinese or American, whatever. You need to get down and pray to Almighty God to lift this. And at the same time, you have to help your fellow man. Because it is again written, when they could jump up and down in church, oh, God save me, I'm saved. That is not what my Bible says. My Bible says, if you do not forgive your fellow man, neither will God forgive you. And until they stop fighting against each other, most of it in the name of God, and learn to show love to the fellow man, this plague, other ones will continue.
Right.
Eh?
I hear you. And maybe we start, excuse me, maybe we start first by looking at ourselves, each of us, examining ourselves, being more mindful of that. You know, no longer is a plank, it's probably a whole building that we have in our eye, but we're more concerned with a little mite in another man instead of concentrating trying to fix us. You know, we want to make it
what they're doing. But
are they doing that, or are we doing that now? In this?
I'm not praying, Lord, show me a cure that I can get pay me billions of dollars if I find a cure. I'm praying for God to have mercy on us and send us a cure. But we have to do our part.
But what if His mercy is one way, and we, look at it and say, well, that's not what I had in mind. But He's saying, be merciful because I take you out now.
What He said to me is, right? If you show love to your fellow man, and you try to help your fellow man, and you beseech him to do something for in his name of his son, and the Muslims, Hindu have different names for it, but they all have the same principle. If you live a righteous life and you pray to God for something, Jesus said, God said, I will do it. He didn't say, I might do it if I pray hard enough.
Respectfully, could I ask you then, and I'm mindful, I don't wish this to be disrespectful in a way.
No.
You, me, and anybody else, how many of us do you think, and it's not necessary for you to answer unless you wish, right? How many of us do you think now have committed, as you were sharing earlier, whether it's an hour, whether it's a minute, whether it's, a prolonged period of prayer and fasting, but committed on a regular basis to quietly meditate, to pray, not just for that level of, sort of guidance with respect to a cure, but as a call of prayer, pray for our leadership, that they'll be, doing the right thing, pray for a safety of not just our country, but the global. How many of us do you think, in this community, not just globally, but in this community, have you think committed to doing just that?
Well, Cayman has a lot of people who are doing that.
So you think a lot of us are doing that?
Cayman has been saved from a lot of disasters.
Do you think that we're doing that?
A lot of people, and not for me to judge, that is God.
No. That's not. No, I'm not asking you to judge.
Look at all of the different organizations that we have helping people, like Meals on Wheels and many other such things. These are people who are trying to do the will of God and help the fellow man.
Yes, sir. But
and
sorry.
I know that is why Cayman has been saved from a lot of problems.
Yeah, no, I really agree with you that we have a wonderful spirit, very kind-hearted people, very charitable, and our actions as a society are very telling, and right. And when we do see the behaviors that you described, that's wonderful. But what I didn't ask it correctly. In this particular time, facing these unprecedented challenges and all of the uncertainties and all the things globally, but even locally, how many of us do you think now are doing exactly what you were inviting us to do? We're going, and whether with another friend or brother, or whether we're doing it silently and privately, how many of us do you think are deliberately setting about a special prayer time just for this particular time as this?
Well, let me tell you a little story about that. In this farming community had not rained for a long, long time. So they decided to go out in the fields and pray. And when they're praying and praying, a downpour of rain came. So they're coming back rejoicing how their prayers were answered.
Yeah.
And the old man stopped them and said, all of you can shut your mouth. You are not the ones that made it rain. It's that little boy. Yeah, why do you say that? He's the only one that took his umbrella.
Yeah. But you see, that's the thing. Prayer, faith without works is dead, right? Faith without works is dead.
Yeah, you must have faith.
Right. So
it's no good praying God deliver us, and then you go in the stock and market supplies.
Back to my question, right?
You don't want to shave anybody as well.
All right. Listen, you're gonna please don't think that I'm being rude to you. Thank you very, very much for sharing, and publicly prayers for you that you continue to recover. And as we engage in banter, hopefully, as frustrated as it can be sometimes to hear about the same thing being rehashed to have a little value, still wish the best for you. All right, we're going to pause and take a break. After the news, His Excellency will join us. Please stay tuned for Talk Today.
National Drug and Alcohol Facts Month in Cayman is bringing a variety of competitions for all ages. Teachers, students, and schools, this is your chance to win big prizes by entering one or more of our competitions. Secondary schools and students, enter our TikTok competition, Battle of the Canvases, and the poster contest. Primary schools, your classroom door competition is all about healthy living. All the deadlines and information is on our website. Enter the competition. Let's get creative and shatter the myths today. For more information, check out our website, ndc.ky, call 949-9000, or email info@ndc.ky.
Radio Cayman News.
The Cayman Islands' first recorded COVID-19 positive patient passed away at 4:40 a.m.
In Cayman, there's a strong Christian tradition of helping each other.
Testing for COVID-19 will be available locally this week.
Some of these decisions are quite radical and drastic, but we are determined to do everything we can.
Radio Cayman, your voice, your choice for today's biggest news.
Follow Radio Cayman on Twitter. All the latest information, breaking news, community events, and more. Follow us at twitter.com/Radio Cayman.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman.
It's only 2 species that we have here on the island.
Your voice, your choice for today's biggest news.
Access. Local, regional, international. This is headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom team.
Today's biggest news.
With the suspension of flights imminent, the national airline is adjusting its operations. Cayman Airways is currently in the process of contacting customers with existing reservations for travel during this time, but customers may also call Cayman Airways reservations or contact their travel professional to make the necessary changes to their travel itinerary. As of Sunday, March 22nd, 2020, transportation between Grand Cayman and the sister islands will be restricted to the sister island residents and essential persons only. Good afternoon, I'm Dion Anglin with your headlines. In news elsewhere, Ohio's governor has ordered polling stations in the state to close as the COVID-19 pandemic disrupts vast swaths of American life. The state was one of 4 due to hold Democratic primary votes today. However, Governor Mike DeWine has closed polls following a state Supreme Court decision allowing the vote to be postponed. And scientists in Australia say they have identified how the body's immune system fights the COVID-19 virus. Their research, published in Nature Medicine Journal today, shows people are recovering from the new virus like they would from the flu. Globally, authorities have confirmed more than 160,000 cases of the coronavirus and about 6,500 deaths. That's a wrap of your headlines. I'm Dion Anglin.
Stay in touch with Radio Cayman for the latest in news and information.
Follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, www.radiocayman.gov.ky.
Radio Cayman, your voice, your choice, your radio.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back. Thank you so much for joining us. And again, as we said at the outset, thanks publicly again to our leadership, the elected, and to be able to see the continued cooperation. But if he doesn't mind, a special thanks to His Excellency the Governor for joining us, for being part and parcel of what's going on. I believe, sir, that it's reassuring to see us as a society sort of committed to making sure that we continue to be safe, to be civil, and as possible, allay our fears. But people sometimes, we don't listen, and when we listen, we're not quite hearing, and when we hear it, I don't believe that. So hopefully they'll be reassured, and we'll continue to be civil in our endeavours.
Yeah.
So good afternoon to you, sir.
It's good afternoon. It's always a pleasure to come on the show, and I'm delighted to be here again. And as you say, we're living in extraordinary times, as we keep saying. Globally, you look around the world and what we're sort of facing here. But I say again that I think government has taken very robust measures, very appropriate measures, and I think we can all be grateful for the way that everyone is absolutely focused on the health and welfare of the people of the Cayman Islands and making sure we do absolutely everything to safeguard that. So I applaud the measures government has taken, and I think the Premier is showing sort of great leadership at a very difficult time.
Indeed, and I would hope that as a people, if we draw on our Christian faith, if we just draw on civility and humanity, that we'll be cognizant that this time for not our Premier, his cabinet, and all of the elected members yourself, it must be physically taxing. I had the pleasure to invite Dr. Lee and the others into the studio, and I can only imagine. It's not unlike that student final exams, final week. Some of us can think back to that. It may be our mock exams. It may have been our finals in high school. It may be, that graduate thesis that we're trying to get done. This is similar to that in terms of sleep.
Yeah, no,
except
it is.
It's extended.
It is. I think everyone is under a great deal of pressure, but as I say, very mindful of the responsibility as well to take the right decisions to protect and safeguard the people of these islands. And I think we're in as good a shape as we could be at the present time. And obviously, as governor, I've been focusing on the areas that I'm responsible for. And we're very focused on making sure that we're in the best possible place to respond to this. I mean, look, what's happening around the world. The situation in Italy is very serious. Europe now seems to be the epicenter of this epidemic. In the UK, just yesterday, the UK has announced some of the most severe social distancing measures that we've had to put in place, and I'm very pleased that this week we've got Public Health England here with us, a 3-person team. It is the Overseas Territories section of Public Health England, and they're here primarily to help us ensure we get the testing for coronavirus, the lab up and running, which is happening, and they're also helping us out with the difficult situation at Health City to make sure that we can get Health City back up and running as soon as possible. So I think we're grateful for them, but they're also here to learn. They're learning from Cayman. I think it's worth pointing out that Cayman was already developing the capacity to do this type of testing before this coronavirus epidemic emerged, and we are the only overseas territory. I think Bermuda is also very close, but we're the only overseas territory which has the capacity to test on island, which is a huge advantage for us.
And that's something that I think that for some people over the years we've sort of been not just downplaying but dismissive of the continued investment that the country, the government of the day would have in its people with respect to health in this instance, and the proactive nature that we have employed to date relative to being able to this case. Be the first. It's not a boast. It just shows a testament that we're forward thinking. Maybe it harkens back to the day of our seafaring traditions. Now, as a people, is there anything, and again, I look at it individually, I keep saying, look in the mirror. What are you seeing? Are you happy? How do you improve that person in the mirror? Do you want to get healthier? Are you willing to exercise and eat healthier? You want to get smarter and pass the exam? Are you willing to maybe watch a little less TV and, maybe read and study your books a little more? That man or woman in the mirror that's looking back at you, that's the one that you have control over. So as a people, is there anything that we can say or do that might just resonate to say, listen, civility, being a little bit calmer, being a little bit more understanding?
I think that's a really, really good question, because governments can take measures, and governments can only do so much. I mean, what actually really matters is individual responsibility, and all of us assuming responsibility for ourselves, our families, and everyone around us. And I think that comes through in many ways. So we have a lot of younger Caymanians who are going to come back to the islands very soon. They're coming back from the UK, coming back from the US, from elsewhere. But one of the real sad things about coronavirus is it is our elderly and more vulnerable groups who seem to be most affected. So I think it really is so important that all of us do absolutely the right thing to look after ourselves. And if we do get the sort of the cough and the fever, which is some of the symptoms of coronavirus, we should self-isolate ourselves and not run the risk of infecting others. We need to be thinking about our elderly people and not having sort of social contact, which is unnecessary and putting them at risk. But as this develops, we're going to need to think of ways of how we as a people can step up and really help, particularly our older people and vulnerable, but everybody on the islands. And the basic hygiene messages that we need everybody to follow about regularly washing your hands, that's absolutely fundamental. So I think you're right. We all of us individually, we have a moral responsibility to help our community get through this.
It's something that I was just thinking, and Your Excellency, if you would guide me, I keep saying to people, we have it relatively easy and nice and good now. And if we were to continue to be respectful and responsive, we will continue to do the proper thing, self-isolate, to exercise the social distancing, then we could come out of this not just stronger but healthier. But if we were to maybe turn the pendulum to the opposite end, then we end up in a scenario where people are sick, where nowhere is a safe space, as opposed to now where almost everywhere except, well, this person is in quarantine over there, that's one person. We're going to have all safe spaces. And it's not unimaginable that we can have it so that everywhere is safe because everybody is doing the right thing for our... what is 3 weeks? What is 3 months?
Absolutely. I mean, we are at the moment in what the sort of the scientists and the medical people call the contain phase, where we've put in place a very robust set of measures to try and contain the risk to the islands. There's a testing going on now of the 40 sort of people that were being tested, many of them at Health City, but some were not at Health City. Those are the ones that came to the attention of HSA. Once we get the results of those, we will need to see whether they're positive or negative, but if there are any positive ones there, then do the tracing of who those people have had contact with, and we may very quickly need additional measures. And I know the Premier and his cabinet are thinking already very, very carefully about what those might be. So we will, if you look at the way this has developed around the world, it is very likely we will need additional measures. And I know that government is committed to doing everything it can to protect the people on the islands.
If I may, and again, I think for us, this is something that we should not take for granted. The notion that not only the Honourable Premier, not only the elected members of Cabinet, or even the other elected members in the Legislative Assembly, our business leadership have come to the public, not just now, but in the past, and we can ask questions. But if you look at the elected leadership, and you yourself as sort of, I don't want to say the apex of it, but the country has almost direct and unfettered access to our leadership. And that is not something that we should take for granted. But with that, could we ask maybe two things? And one, the irresponsible nature sometimes of some of us and our behaviors shared on social media and the like, but also the way information is disseminated at times. You've had some excellent comments in the past, and I think it's reassuring. But if you would,
I know. Thank you for raising that, because it is a really important point, and I think fake news and rumour and things that are clearly untrue being circulated on social media is an enormous challenge for a society at any time, but it's particularly difficult in a situation like this, where things like that can cause real panic and real alarm. So I've already said publicly that we will make sure that we are a country governed by the rule of law, and we'll make sure our law is used where there is evidence that people are maliciously circulating false rumours. There was something last week, I think, at one of our educational establishments saying that there was a confirmed case, which was completely untrue. I've spoken to the police commissioner this morning, actually, and asked him again to make sure that we do everything within our power, within the law, to deal with these issues as they arise. So everybody out there should be very aware that if they put out information which they cannot check, and it's very easy to check these things. You can contact government, you can contact my office, you can contact the Deputy Governor's office, you can contact the Premier's office. People can check things and get a quick response. Is this correct or not? But putting things out willfully, which they know to be incorrect, is hugely damaging for any society, and can have some life and death consequences if people panic and do the wrong thing. So I would just urge everybody to take their information from government sources, and I think government deserves credit for the outreach that it's doing on getting the message out on what is happening. There's a daily teleconference happening now, the one again today at sort of 2:00. So get your information from government sources. But as I said, I have again spoken to the police commissioner this morning about ensuring that we do, because we could be in this situation for quite some time to come, and it goes back to the point you were making about individual responsibility. Everybody needs to think about the consequences of their actions and not do anything which could cause people to panic without checking the facts first, particularly in this sort of instant world of social media that we live in today.
I think this is the importance of what we share, and maybe it is a sign of the times that, generally speaking, across the globe, people seem to be distrustful, of governments and of leadership and of businesses. But as we recognize, our government giving information timely, sharing as much as possible and prudent at that time with the information they have, we can become that society that shows, where someone says something that isn't true, they become, sort of chastised for it, as opposed to celebrated. But
and people do sometimes check things with my office as well. I mean, I encourage that. If people do hear something and just want to sort of check whether something is correct, we can respond immediately, and we have done in a number of occasions. And there are other areas of government which would also respond quickly. So I just do think it's incumbent on everybody who is putting information into the public domain to be clear that their information is accurate and that they are not unnecessarily causing alarm and panic. And there are laws against that. And where there is evidence that has happened, I have strongly encouraged the police commissioner to do everything within our power to prevent that. So I hope people really bear that in mind.
Okay. Now, and I think hopefully us as the individual, we our friends and family that we share information with, that we'll even be responsible to, okay, I looked at this thing, this looks alarming, this looks true. But sometimes, even with the best eye, the cursory review is insufficient to verify it. We all get caught up in sharing it. Oops, that wasn't really right. That was spoofed by someone else. It looks so legit. Now, and we're certainly grateful that His Excellency the Governor will share us, and he's very amenable if people wish to call and ask a question and engage. But certainly, I think it's more important to listen to be able to hear it firsthand. As we go into the press briefing, the second one this week, this is day 2 of this week, and the government has to be commended for committing again 2 p.m. We will take it live. But as a public, panic buying, congestion on the roads, human behavior. And we say, well, that's to be expected. But what do we do before it gets down to anarchy?
I mean, there really is no reason for panic buying, and it's we have imports coming in by ship, cargo ships, and there's absolutely no risk to that whatsoever. Although the airport has been closed, we still receive cargo via air, so perishable goods and mail and courier. So there is really no reason for panic buying, and because we're approaching hurricane season again, the supermarkets and the suppliers already have sufficient stocks over probably a 3-month period. So there really is no reason for panic buying, and I think it comes back to that point about individual responsibility, because if one of us takes more than we need, then we are potentially denying that to others. So I just think we all need to remain calm and try and remain rational, and really assess the risks that we're facing, and check some of these concerns. Very legitimate. I recognise it's a scary situation for many people, and you look around the world and see what's happening in the rest of the world. That does create alarm and concern. I absolutely understand that, but we then need to analyse what's happening in our own communities with reason and common sense.
All right. So we do have a caller joining us, and for those who wish, we are enjoying the wonderful company of His Excellency the Governor. 949-8037, a toll free at 1-800-534-TALK. I invite you to don the headset. Compliments to Miss Paulette. They're always clean and sanitized. So let's go to our phones. Hey, good afternoon and welcome. Thanks for calling.
Good afternoon, Sterling.
Good afternoon, ma'am. How are you today?
Very thankful and highly blessed, and I'm listening on 2 radios today. But I just turned this one down. So listen, good afternoon to His Excellency the Governor.
Good afternoon. How are you?
I'm thankful. Oh, God. Again, God is good, but you got to be good too.
That's right.
Everybody has to be good. I mean, doing what is needs to be done.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay? The Governor, Mr. Roper.
Yeah.
I have this question.
Okay.
About the pharmacists. Okay. This is more as if it was a hurricane instead of the virus. If it was a hurricane, we would be able to get an extra month's supply of our medications. So is it that is the pharmacists, whether it be at the hospital or at the district clinics, are they being told that patients can get an extra month of their medications?
Well, it's a very good question. I mean, that strays beyond my sort of remit in the Constitution, so I don't have an answer to that now. But I will definitely take that point away for you and make sure that it is addressed. What I would say, and I think you'll hear more of this at the press conference at 2:00, because government has been working extremely hard to see how it can best support people in a whole range of different areas, particularly because we are going to take an economic hit as many countries in the world are going to take that, and our tourism industry clearly will be seriously affected by what is happening. So I know government is working extremely hard and diligently and doing its utmost to provide a package of measures and support, and they'll say more about that a little bit later. But I will take your very important point about pharmacies away with me.
All right. Hey, thanks.
No, Sterling, one more. One more.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I've been checking from last week. Today's only Tuesday. From last week about the surgical mask. All of the pharmacies, private and thing, is out of them. So if people patients have to go now to collect their medications. Will they be given a mask now in case that about the buses too? They're saying that you gotta be careful with the buses and all that stuff. The public transportation and all that. Sterling, I told you a few days back that I am able to catch the bus, but on the buses, people is coughing and going on. You understand?
Yeah.
So I'm wondering now whether or not that if when in the patients have to go and collect their medications, if they would be given the mask at the pharmacies. That's another thing, sir.
Yeah, again, that's a detail that I'm sure will be looked at. I mean, I think masks are still available on the islands. I know because I was speaking to someone yesterday who purchased one opposite Government House. So there are still masks available. And I mean, at the moment, we remain in the contain phase. We don't have evidence that this is spreading person to person in the islands. And until we have that evidence, we won't be sort of recommending stepping up the even more social distancing. So we sort of have to take this step by step.
Yeah. Thank you very much for that, Ma'am. And Your Excellency, we do have one other caller. Hey, good afternoon and welcome. Thanks for calling.
Good afternoon, Sterling.
Good afternoon, sir. How are you?
I'm good. And good afternoon to His Excellency.
Good afternoon. I recognise Mr. Tibbets.
That's me, sir.
How are you? Do you know the Premier thinks you're in my kitchen cabinet? I often there's a few people that I see regularly who are in my kitchen cabinet. So there you go. So you're going to give me some advice, I hope.
Well, not exactly. I didn't know you were going to be on. I was going to call anyhow to Sterling about something else. You know.
Mm-hmm.
Last week Friday, before when I think OC had the leader of opposition on, I had contacted my council and we had come to the conclusion that we should cancel the meeting for tonight and also close the office for 2-3 weeks. But since you're there, Mr. Roper, I must congratulate your government and yourself on the measures that you all have taken. And I agree with all of them. I don't know what else I can ask you, other than to tell you that I do have a plaque for you, but I haven't contacted you yet because the opportune time hasn't arisen yet.
Right. Okay. And well, that's very kind of you. I think you were right to cancel those meetings. We need to be cautious at the moment, and you know the maximum amount of social distancing that all of us can do. We should all be reducing the need to have sort of meetings with other people, contacts with other people. If they're not absolutely essential, are there other ways of doing them? And this is the best way that we can respond at the moment to the situation we face.
I think you know me well enough that I'm going to make my decision very quickly. And I made the decision to lock shop before the government did, because the opposition leader was saying that they had a meeting the Thursday, but they hadn't come to a conclusion yet, so I was a little bit ahead, but that's good, that's fine.
All right. Yes, sir.
So, Mr. Sterling, I don't know if OC told you, but you were also invited tonight, but that's gone by the wayside, so an opportune time will come again.
Yes, sir. Look, and hopefully we'll be able to celebrate much more robustly then. All right.
Yeah,
thank you, sir.
I mean, I know that everything is working accordingly, and people are, you know, if you go by all of the media stupidness that goes around, I mean, you'd go crazy. I just completely ignore all of them because I know what is right from wrong.
Yes, sir. Well, common sense will prevail, you know.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, thank you all for, again, Your Excellency, thank you for being the robust personality that you are and making sure that we are in the right direction.
Okay, no, thank you. Good to talk to you as ever.
All right. Be safe, sir. Take care. Thanks. With that, let's just pause quickly. When we come back, we continue our discussion. A reminder, we'll take it live at 2 p.m. here on Radio Cayman, but also CIG TV. We'll take the government's press briefing at 2. So stay tuned for Talk Today.
Start getting your debt under control with a debt consolidation loan from Fidelity Bank. At Fidelity, your loan decision is quick with no runaround. Plus, with competitive interest rates and fees, we will help you reduce your monthly payments and get you back to living again. Don't let the burden of overwhelming debt tie you down this year. Call Fidelity today and let's make it happen with a Fidelity Bank debt consolidation loan. Fidelity, we're good for you.
At Canine Resort and Spa, your dog gets the red carpet treatment. That's why people trust us and pets love us. Offering doggy daycare, boarding, training, and grooming services for any breed, size, or style. From head to tail, we'll make your dog smile.
Choose from 4 grooming packages, from the basic bronze package of a hydrobath, shampoo and conditioner, wash and blowout, to the platinum package including spa services like a doggy massage and berry facial. Canine will help your pet look picture perfect. Receive a loyalty card where your 6th grooming package is free. Limited availability.
Visit canineresort.com for details on grooming packages, doggy daycare, and resort services. Canine Resort and Spa, where the posh dogs go. This is a public service announcement from your Radio Cayman, your community radio station. Here are some coronavirus prevention tips. Frequently cleanse hands with soap and water or an alcohol-based hand sanitizer. Cover your nose and mouth when coughing or sneezing. Avoid close contact with people suffering from acute respiratory infections. And avoid travel if you have a fever, cough, or flu-like symptoms. For the latest updates and information, please visit hsa.ky/coronavirus.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back to Talk Today. Thanks so much for joining us. And again, special thanks for being able to invite to our studio and for his graciousness in accepting the honorable, opportunity for us to speak to His Excellency the Governor. If I might, though, as a society, we keep saying to people, well, we should know more about civics. We should understand. And we have a new constitution. Could we ask 2 things then? Just quickly, maybe a sort of social studies lessons somewhat and civics. The areas of responsibility, don't you? And then particularly, maybe given that the civil service is there, what is transpiring in the civil service that may be peculiar or particularly, enlightened?
Yeah, sure. I mean, certainly law and order. Let me just say a word about that, which security and law and order comes under the governor. I think our law and order situation is very stable at the moment. I think relatively we remain in very good shape, and I think that's something that we're very should be proud of, and we need to maintain. So going into this current situation, obviously it's an increasingly challenging situation, and we don't yet know how it will develop. But I think what I do want to emphasise is that I think the law enforcement agencies and the emergency services have always stepped up in times of challenge in the Cayman Islands, and I don't think this situation will be any different. And I think we can have confidence in our law enforcement agencies and our emergency services to really sort of step up to whatever is required in the coming weeks and months. So I think that's very important. I mean, the civil service, we clearly have had to consider how to carry out business in the civil service, and the Deputy Governor has introduced a number of measures. So there is much more flexible working, particularly this week, which was the first week of the schools closure, and civil servants have got discretionary leave for this week if they need to be at home for childcare and responsibilities. We're encouraging more people to work from home. I think if people can work from home, that's something they should do, because that's good for social distancing. It's in the UK at the moment, the civil service, everyone is being encouraged to work from home, and I know that's happening extensively at the moment. Here also, we have been stopping some non-essential services. I think, as I said yesterday, library, museum, some of the non-essential services have been stopped. And we are redeploying staff from sort of lower priority areas to higher priority areas. You're aware that we're setting up the Defence Regiment. We've had officers training in Bermuda. Those officers are back, and we have deployed them to hazard management as additional sort of backup and support at a very busy time for hazard management. And in the civil service, salaries are likely to be paid a few days early, again, to help people who may have extra costs because of the challenges of dealing with this situation. So I think the civil service has taken some good and important steps, and I commend the Deputy Governor for acting quickly, and clearly the private sector is also taking a wide number of steps, and they have to take their own decisions. But the social distancing, ending large gatherings, all of that is being looked at very, very carefully by everybody, and thank you to everyone for doing that.
I think this is where it's a case of all hands on deck, and we do respect that the Honourable Premier at the 2 p.m. briefing will give us more information. So don't wish to speculate and inflame the situation. So hopefully people will tune in and get it directly firsthand. But there are things that we can do as well. I mean, as you shared concerns with respect to the economic impact, we watched on Sunday, not just the U.S. Federal Reserve, but in concert with central banks globally, taking unprecedented action, at least some of us in our lifetime, maybe not mine. But these are things to get us through for the next. Is there any sort of indication beyond the next 3 weeks, the next 3 months? Could this be something that would impact us for the next year, and to what extent? I know it's a bit of a speculative because this is changing not just daily, perhaps hourly in some instances.
Yeah. I think it's a really good question because, as you say, we've seen what happened in China, and China was the first country affected by this. So, I think those countries that have gone through it earlier, that gives us some evidence, and it gives us a case study to look at how everybody else responds to it. And I think in the UK they have moved rapidly now to try and suppress, to really try and clamp down on the coronavirus spreading, and that it's not clear how long those measures will have to be in place. And clearly, for an economy, you can't be talking about a year, 18 months of these sorts of measures, because that would do incredible damage. So I think it isn't right to speculate. We don't yet have all the information, and we don't yet have all the analysis. But just looking at what's happening in the rest of the world, we are dealing with something completely unprecedented. We haven't had to tackle this in the past. I think we have to do absolutely everything we can in the Cayman Islands to protect ourselves from this, and I think the measures that we've taken are absolutely the right measures at the right moment. But I think more will be needed. I'm fairly certain more will be needed as we move into the next few days.
I think as we await the 2 o'clock hour and have the Honourable Premier share with us, it'd be better to hear then, so that we can comment after, as opposed to when I say we, not just us, but as a community. And again, I share that to ask us, be responsible in our public speculation, be responsible in what we're sharing, especially online and the like, because it can become a self-fulfilling prophecy. The simplest example is, if you believe a particular stock is going to perform in a particular way and enough people act that way, it will influence the price of the stock up or down. This is just that on a much more magnified scale. I'm told, sir, that we have a caller will join us as we go back to the phones. Good afternoon, welcome. Hello.
Sterling.
Yes, ma'am. Welcome back, ma'am.
Yes, back to Mr. Roper.
Yes. Good afternoon, ma'am.
Again. Yes, when I was speaking about the mask and about the bus and about the pharmacist, it's not that I am panicking or there is a lot out there that is panicking.
Yes, ma'am.
But I'm not panicking. But the thing about it is, okay, it's the flu that I'm talking about that had been around from the bad flu. It was around from last year, and people is still spreading that also. So this is what I'm saying now about a mask, because last Thursday it was a big thing going on up in this pharmacy at HSA. Okay, it was this one guy that he had the way that the chairs are positioned. He had 3 different seats. He coughed one place, go to the next one, cough there, and they came behind me and coughed. And then I said, "Oh my, not behind me now." And he was going on bad.
Right.
So, but then I understanding that he was a mental guy afterwards, because it was an elderly guy now that was sitting in the same, sitting behind me also. He had to get up and go to, because this guy now, this mental one, he had pulled his chair over. He had pulled his chair over to the area where they got the senior citizen line.
Right. Yeah. And thanks for sharing that. And I think this is what, as I call it, each of us now have a responsibility, and even where we sit and where we are respectful. So we have another caller join us. Good afternoon. Thanks for calling.
Good afternoon, Dwayne.
Afternoon, ma'am. How are you?
And all fine, thanks to you, sir. Good afternoon to our governor there, Mr. Martin Roper.
Hello there. Good afternoon, ma'am. How are you?
Fine, thanks. We want to welcome you to our radio station because we've been waiting to hear you. We heard you this morning, or yesterday and everything, and we appreciate all of your sentiments and everything that we got. But I'm from the district of West Bay, and I'm a very proud West Bay.
Yeah.
Will tell you that one.
So am I. I'm a proud West Bayer myself. Just.
Yeah. My daughter is a proud West Bayer too. That's right. We're on the same page.
And that's it.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much for standing for us.
But I represent everybody else as well, just to make that clear.
Too late, sir.
Okay. Well, we want. That was a good joke. I'm sure we'll have a lot of jealous people calling now. But you tell them you know where to stand for. You know where you're at, and you know what side you're on.
Okay.
Okay. Calling on. We have a lot of high risk patients in West Bay. We have heart disease. I have a grandmother who is 95 years old. And God bless her. I hope that she don't get this coronavirus. So we need to all come together now. We got a lot of, senior citizens, a lot of sick patients in West Bay. I am calling on our whole government, including you, the governor, to please lock West Bay down. We got, the Lord has provided enough for us in West Bay. Right now we don't have to go chase tourists by the docks, and most of us work at the tourism and cruise industry. So a lot of us can stay with us. But allow us to please be able to enjoy it. We're not being begrudgeful of nobody coming in, but we have a lot of sick people. We cannot. I tip my hat off to Kim and Bragg for standing up for their senior citizens, especially the people in their retirement home, because if that should get into that, as I say, everybody got to stand for their own. So I'm not saying about how it theirs, but if everybody would care for their own district, we would probably be able to fight this through this crisis. We got to thank God, because He's seen people were being crushed, and maybe this is why He sent for us, so that we can recuperate and wake up out of the dream that we're in. But we were in a dream.
Yes, ma'am.
But the nightmare has come to reality. We dreamt it, now it's here.
Yeah.
So we're calling on the government to please let West Bay shut off. We can cut off West Bay. We got a hardware store. We got lots of grocery stores, and if the supplies are coming in, we will make it. We can go back us and catch lobsters, fish and conchs, whatever we want. Everybody else got the same side, see on their side.
Yeah.
So please shut West Bay down for us.
All right, but I think the sentiment.
We had to go back to what old people used to do. We had to get conch shells and stop them from coming in. So we don't want to come back to that. But just like maybe that might be one. We don't want no violence, but we do not want West Bay to be mixed up with so far. We don't think that we got a coronavirus down there, and we don't need any other virus down there with our senior citizens. We got a lot of retirement. They're not just West Bay, they're coming from all districts. So we're thankful for what we got West Bay, but we need to protect them. They can't protect themselves. Some of them they're punishing, whatever, but let them punish in peace at least.
But I think we all, we absolutely share with you that concern about our elderly and our vulnerable. I think everyone across the world is very concerned about that, and I think all of us, as we were saying earlier, need to do absolutely everything we can to support them and to protect them and reduce the amount of contact with other people, but that in itself can create lots of problems. So we have to find ways as a community of stepping up and really supporting our elderly citizens in a whole range of different ways. But I can just say to you, government is very, very focused on that and acutely aware of this issue.
I think too, as you shared, each of us, as the Honourable Premier references, self-isolate, practice, social distancing, health and hygiene practices. And we can. And there's little reason for us to be moving about as much as we would have normally. These are not, necessarily normal times as it were. Now, Your Excellency, I know that you have the press conference briefing to join at
5 minutes, I think.
Okay, and we certainly appreciate time. Any time that we can, offer at the studio is for there. But in sort of the closing moments of the discussion, what else would you want to share with us? Because we don't want you to be late to get across there. We want it to be on time.
No, I think that we've done absolutely everything possible to get us in the right place. But these measures are very robust measures. I mean, closing your airport, banning cruise ships, banning gatherings of more than 50 people. These are radical measures. So again, I pay tribute to the Premier and the Cabinet for taking the decisions that are needed. And I think as a community, this is now the time for all of us to come together and support each other and really help each other through this. And I know, going back through Cayman's history, that you've shown that time and time and again. You've got a very long and proud history, and times have been very tough in your history. So I believe this is one of those moments where all of us need to come together, all of us need to support each other, look out for our fellow citizens and help everybody to get through this, and everybody acting in an individual, responsible way. And that's the right thing to do.
Well, thank you very much. And I trust, as the call is shared, reassured by the continued sort of support that the governor has with the government, and as a result, the people in this confidence in this country. Hey, thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
All right.
Good to be here again, as always.
We'll pause and take a break. When we come back, some more Talk Today.
Thank you very much.
Be safe, sir.
If your business is over here, but your customers are over here, adding more yellow to your business will bring you both right here. With everyone searching yellows, print, online, and mobile app, getting your business noticed is easier than ever. Book your consultation today at findyellow.com.
Your Radio Cayman 6 p.m. news, Monday through Friday, is brought to you by Logic. Your life connected.
I've got some beautiful clothes. I know just where they go. Puritan Cleaners.
Puritan Cleaners, serving the Cayman Islands for over 60 years. Now offering 12% off ladies and gents wearing apparel, $20 and up prepaid, or 10% off pickup within 7 days. All household items standard 10% off prepaid. This offer good at all our stores until further notice. Savannah Countryside, Elgin Avenue, Georgetown, Eastern Avenue, Georgetown, 949-7104. Drive through, rain or shine. A great special. You feel good when you look good.
Start getting your debt under control with a debt consolidation loan from Fidelity Bank. At Fidelity, your loan decision is quick with no runaround. Plus, with competitive interest rates and fees, we will help you reduce your monthly payments and get you back to living again. Don't let the burden of overwhelming debt tie you down this year. Call Fidelity today and let's make it happen with a Fidelity Bank debt consolidation loan. Fidelity, we're good for you.
Wow, looks good. What is that?
Chicken chair.
What did you just say to me?
Chicken chair.
I am not a chicken
Whoa! I said chicken share. It's from KFC. Bucket of 12 hot wings, 6 pieces of chicken, or 8 tenders. KFC chicken share. Just $12 each.
Oh.
Want some chicken, tenders, or hot wings?
You're sharing your chicken share with me?
The new chicken share from KFC, just $12 each, and it's finger-licking good. Dine at KFC Baytown Plaza, KFC Shedden Road, or KFC at the Strand.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waging to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back to Talk Today. Thank you for joining us. And we did have the excellent company of His Excellency, in many respects, not just as a great administrator, but I think as the caller prior shared, the country has a level of access to its leadership from His Excellency to the Honorable Premier, straight down to the Cabinet and all the elected members. So as a people, if we never ever do anything in our society that would compromise that sense of safety, security and access, we see it happen, unfortunately, in many other jurisdictions. Some of it is probably the egos of those in position, but sadly, sometimes it's a real threat to their personal safety, to their ability to manage, to govern. So let's not ever get to that point. And let's ensure that all of us can move about freely and fairly and safely. Let's go to the phones, though. Good afternoon and welcome. Thanks for calling.
Yep. Hello.
Hi, good afternoon. How are you today?
I'm really well. I was wondering if someone can address a situation for me regarding immigration for those of us who are stuck here on the island during this virus situation. I'm 75 years old, had my hip done at Health City in 2017, had another one done at Health City 2019, owned a home here for 20 years, but I'm very cautious that not to fly back. Made the choice to stay here for however long it matters.
Okay.
However, my immigration, of course, I don't know how they're going to react to someone who is staying here, who's opted to stay here because they're afraid to fly because of their health situation and their age. Is immigration going to be, is the Premier going to allow immigration to take that into consideration so we're not in big trouble?
Okay. If you wouldn't mind, and I find, despite, the consequences otherwise, speak straightly, and then we don't have to worry about it. You said stuck. That was the word that stuck with me. You're not stuck. You've made the option to stay, right?
I made an option to stay because I was scared to fly with I just got over pneumonia here.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
And I think probably from what people will conclude, you're probably safer or as safe here than you are anywhere else, right?
There is, yes, absolutely, no doubt about that with my health condition, yes,
Right.
and being my age.
All right. No, exactly. And with respect to your immigration status now, I don't want you to share anything that you don't want, but I would presume that your immigration status otherwise would allow you to remain here, in the sense that you're here legally, you satisfied all the immigration, all the immigration requirements to be here.
Yes.
So there's no reason why you would be fearful of being sort of asked to leave the jurisdiction. For those who don't know, though, why is it because other jurisdictions are saying to citizens, to non-citizens, okay, out, or is it just because? Why is that fear looming in your mind?
Well, I'm not real familiar with the immigration things. I know when we come in, we always get the little white ticket, and it has a date on it when we're supposed to leave. At one point in time, when I was here getting my hip done in 2017, the doctor extended me and would not want me to travel because he was afraid that I would get a blood clot in my leg.
Right.
I did leave early, and I did get a blood clot, and I did go in the hospital with a blood clot in my lungs. So what happened was I had to go to immigration, and they were not very happy, and they charged me money that I was going to be extending, but the doctor wanted me to extend. So I just, at this point in time, I'm not over my limit, of course, or anything like that, but we don't know.
Right.
What the Premier said yesterday, we could be here to August, which is fine with me. I don't have a problem. I have a beautiful home on Run Point. I spend a lot of money here keeping Chisholm's open. But, believe me, I do. That can tell you that. And we obviously have loved it here for 20 years. But having said that, obviously I have things I need to do in the States, but I am safest here. Everything they have done here has been number one and perfect.
Yeah.
Shutting everything down, shutting the planes down. All of that, how could you ask for anything better? I hope these people know how fortunate they are to have this government.
Yeah, I certainly appreciate you sharing that. Certainly we can understand, someone who, as you sort of shared, you're here on a sort of visitors. There's no permanent residency. You come, you stay for the period of time you stay, and then you leave, and then you come back as you choose.
Yes.
As we continue the discussion, prayers for you and the family, and all of us to be safe during this time.
Yes.
But as we self-isolate to the extent that we are able to, in your particular situation, maybe it would be helpful when you look at that sort of date on which you were expected to depart pursuant to sort of immigration, to see where that will expire, and maybe somehow reach out to the immigration authorities. We can help facilitate that to some extent, but I'm sure there are many like you who have already gone down to immigration, who are able to physically stand outside there and ask for extensions now. Would that be granted? Should it be granted? Those are discussions for other people.
Okay. Well, I suppose I should probably make arrangements to go down there.
Yeah.
Well, you don't even know how long to ask for.
Right.
You know?
But that's the thing.
Yeah.
Maybe reach out to your MLA's office.
Okay.
He's not just a gentleman, but certainly very astute and can give you some guidance. I believe, and I say this not to be disparaging, but our immigration rules, I think, are confusing for many of us, easily manipulated by those who are crafty and some who are caught between the cracks other times, you know. So.
Yes. Well, I surely appreciate you speaking with me, and we will take those things as advice. I just didn't know if the Premier today would have any thought process on any of that.
Yeah, as you've recognized, and I think this is what they say, dynamic. Nice word. This is an evolving situation that every day is changing. We've seen Canada made an announcement to sort of close its borders as well to everybody except Canadian citizens and permanent residents and Americans.
Sure.
So what is happening here in relation to flights and the like is very similar to what is transpiring in other jurisdictions as well.
Sure, absolutely.
So
absolutely.
let's be safe, all right?
All right. Thank you so very much for taking my call.
Well, I trust you to have a speedy recovery and you'll continue, like the rest of us, to be as safe as possible, no?
Yes, you as well.
Blessings to you, sir.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Well, let's join another caller. Good afternoon. Thank you for calling.
Good afternoon.
My friend, how are you today?
Okay, His Excellency the Governor still there?
No, sir. He left to go to, there is a government scheduled press briefing at 2 p.m. And just for you and others, we will have it live on Radio Cayman. CIG TV will also take it live. So His Excellency will be a part of that, I presume. The Honourable Premier, and then maybe again the member of the Cabinet on the whichever subject area the Premier is highlighting, in addition to maybe the Honourable Minister for Health, the Chief Medical Officer. So as the Premier needs the support in CAS, they'll be there as well.
So what I wanted to mention is that I mentioned to Health Minister Honourable Mr. Dwayne Seymour concerning government building a new hospital that can hold at least 700 patients and or make plans to do so, especially after facing a situation what we're facing right now. And he said that the public hospital and the private hospitals will be enough space in order to work with any patients that they may have concerning having this coronavirus. And they are also recommending that people quarantine themselves at home. But the government needs to make plans on building a new hospital. From the example what we're now facing, that we'll be prepared in the future. Because I don't think it's the safest or the best way in depending on private hospitals, as you see what happened to Dr. Sherry's, and depending on our public hospital, which is not able to hold too many people, especially when it comes to quarantining people with diseases. And to ask our citizens to quarantine themselves at home is very dangerous, because a lot of people in Cayman, a lot of Caymanians, they have their elderly parents staying with them, and some have their grandparents also staying with them. And at this time, concerning the coronavirus, the old people's homes are doesn't seem to be a safe place at this time either. So I don't know what the government is thinking or what their plans are, but to be prepared for the future, if we face ourselves in a situation that we're now facing now with this coronavirus, they have to make plans on building a new hospital as soon as possible. Thank you very much, man.
All right. Thanks very much indeed. And as we listen to the caller, just a quick reminder that, at 2 p.m., the government will have a live press briefing. We're going to take it to you live here on Radio Cayman. CIGTV was also carried live. And I know every attempt is being made to make sure that transpires at 2 o'clock. So, between now and then, and if we exit quickly because we want it to be on time so that we can give it to you as it unfolds, but who has a thought, a comment, a query, or a question, let us know. If you have a particular skill set that you believe would be, helpful to our government, by all means, offer it up. Not just now, because things are still in the evolving stage, and we are now, as the scientists and medical personnel tell us, in the containment, sort of phase of it. So let's do that by ourselves, staying indoors, self-isolating, and even if we don't have any symptoms or we don't believe we've been exposed, maybe practice what is being termed, social distancing, very deliberately, staying away from public spaces. We can get into the discussions later. I certainly would welcome it in terms of, what would this mean going forward for the social interaction? What would it mean, if anything, when it comes to curtailing, our liberties and the like. But for now, until we get a handle on it much better, let's see if we can do whatever we can to be safer. There are some of us, and I said this yesterday, not to make anybody feel bad, but if it's not a practice that you've employed, I'm so grateful that we've employed it here. It was just customary. It was expected. It was the norm, and Miss Paulette took great leadership in ensuring, we sanitize our studio, the headsets and the thing. It's what a lot of us in our own lives do anyway, in our homes, in our cars. Maybe it'll just remind us of how important it is to practice good personal hygiene, like hand washing. It would shock us, I'm sure, when we would see news reports of this undercover reporter going into some place and the kitchen at this, establishment isn't clean, or the workers who are serving or preparing your food, don't practice hand washing. Now, not going to say, that's because of this or that or the next thing, but, think back to our history and wonder why sometimes some of the things that transpired killed so many people. Was it issue of unsanitary conditions a factor? All right, we'll pause. We'll take our news. We'll take the press conference when it unfolds, and we'll be here. Stay tuned.
From district to district, moving through the waters to Cayman Brac and Little Cayman. Your station, your voice. All things Cayman. One radio, many people. This is home.
Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman.
It's only 2 species that we have here on the island.
Your voice, your choice. For today's biggest news.
Access to information.
Local, regional, international. This is headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom team. Today's biggest news.
Kirkconnell Community Care Centre, Golden Age Home and Maple House are now restricted from visitors. The Department of Children and Family Services says older people and vulnerable individuals have increased susceptibility to the upper respiratory complications caused by coronavirus. Therefore, this decision is being undertaken in the best interests of the home's residents. DCFS is exploring alternative methods of maintaining contact between residents and their families, and staff is keeping residents engaged through a variety of indoor and outdoor activities within their respective facilities. Good afternoon, I'm Dion Anglin with your headlines. In news elsewhere, travel restrictions and a slump in demand due to the coronavirus have forced airlines to cancel most flights and temporarily reduce staff. Virgin Atlantic will cut 4/5 of its flights and has asked staff to take 8 weeks off on paid leave. Ryanair and EasyJet are grounding most of their fleets, while British Airways owner IAG is to cut capacity by 75%. And quarterback Tom Brady has announced he is leaving the New England Patriots after a 20-year spell with the team, which has seen him win 6 Super Bowls. 42-year-old Brady was drafted by the Patriots in 2000 and helped them win the Super Bowl in 2001, 2003, 2004, 2014, 2016, and at the age of 41 in 2018. He has also been on the losing team in the Super Bowl on 3 occasions. That's a wrap of your headlines. I'm Dion Anglin.
Stay in touch with Radio Cayman for the latest in news and information.
Follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, www.radiocayman.gov.ky.
Radio Cayman, your voice, your choice, your radio.
Coming up in just a couple minutes' time, live press briefing right here on Radio Cayman. Keep it locked in.
I've traveled all over the world, and I've been in love with many, many girls. Of all the girls that I have met, you are the one girl that I can't forget, 'cause you're my Caymanian girl. You're my Caymanian girl. You're my Caymanian girl. You're my Caymanian girl. African girls are nice, nice girls. French girls too. But when it comes to love, I give the credit to you. You know how to do your thing to make a guy feel nice. Give him all your good old love. I know it satisfies, 'cause you're my Caymanian girl. You're my Caymanian girl. You're my Caymanian girl. You're my Caymanian girl. Whoa, whoa, yeah. I've traveled all over the world, and I've made love to many, many girls. Of all the girls that I have met, you are the one girl that I can't forget, 'cause you're my Caymanian girl. You're my Caymanian girl. You're my Caymanian girl. You're my Caymanian girl. American girls are nice, nice girls. English girls too. But when it comes to love, I give the credit to you. You know how to do your thing to make the guy feel nice. Give him all your good old love. I know it satisfies, 'cause you're my Caymanian girl. You're my Caymanian girl. You're my Caymanian girl. You're my Caymanian.
This is your Radio Cayman. Please stand by for a special government press briefing.
Caymanian girl. You're my Caymanian girl. You're my Caymanian girl. You're my Caymanian girl.
Down by the seaside, she's sifting sand. Marianne, oh Marianne, won't you marry me? We can be so happy we go raise the own family. But leave your big fat mama home, she never will say yes. If your mama don't know by now, she can always guess. All day, all night, Marianne. Down by the seaside, she's sifting sand. Even little children love Marianne. Down by the seaside, she's sifting sand. There's a brown gal in the ring, tra la 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 la. There's a brown gal in the ring, tra la 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 la. Brown gal in the ring, tra la 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 la. And she looked like a sugar and a plum, plum, plum. Oh, what a night, what a Saturday night. 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 Matilda, 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 she take me money and run Venezuela. Matilda, 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 she take me money and run Venezuela. You know the money was underneath me bed, wrap up in a pillow beneath my head. Matilda, she take me money and run Venezuela. Matilda, 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 she take me money and run Venezuela. Day-oh, daylight come and me want go home. Day-oh, daylight come and me want go home. Come Mr. Tallyman, tally me banana. Daylight come and me want go home. Come Mr. Tallyman, tally me banana. Daylight come and me want go home. Look at the 5 hand, 6 hand, 7 hand bunch. Daylight come and me want go home. 8 hand, 9 hand, 10 hand bunch. Daylight come and me want go home. Day-oh, daylight come and me want go home. Day-oh, daylight come and me want go home. Brown skin gal, stay home and mind baby. Brown skin gal, stay home and mind baby. I'm going away on a sailing boat, and if I don't come back, stay home and mind baby. You know the mongoose went in the white pan kitchen. He picked up one and big fat chicken, put it inside the waistcoat pocket. Sly mongoose, sly mongoose, dog know your name. Sly mongoose, dog know your name. The mongoose went in the white pan kitchen. He picked up one of them big fat chicken, put it inside the waistcoat pocket. Sly mongoose, sly mongoose, sly mongoose.
Remember the days with Lionel and Tida, and Sparky sitting by the dictator, his bicycle parked in the corner, and Sparky watching her like a tiger. Sparky riding her every day, riding coming all the way from Scott Bay. They say the bicycle getting licks, 'cause Spark is beating her with sticks. Sparky, 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 don't do that to me. Sparky, 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 feeling so tipsy. Coming from Blackie Place, they say he went to get a little taste. Now he feeling a little tipsy, and he fall on the ground already. Then it stop by and pick him up, but Sparky cursing and he block up. He don't care what nobody say. Spark is still riding Spot Bay. Sparky, 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 don't do that to me. Sparky, 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 feeling so tipsy. By Captain Keith, Sparky right up again in the heat. Some say he talked to her like a child, and then he stop and rest a little while. Some say the bicycle getting licks, and Sparky beating her with sticks. Sparky, Sparky, riding down the street. Sparky, 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 don't do that to me. Sparky, 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 feeling tipsy. Sparky, 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 don't do that to me.
Imagine if we all practiced safe driving. Imagine if we all refused single-use plastic. Imagine if we all turned off lights when not in use. We can all do our part in making Cayman Islands safer, cleaner, and greener. Together, we can achieve. Visit gov.ky/safer, cleaner, greener to learn more.
Hi, my name is Neraya LeBlanc. I am the minister and evangelist to the West Bay Church of Christ on 24 Batabano Road. I would love to take this opportunity to invite you to experience God's family at West Bay for yourself. We are a caring congregation that strongly believes in reaching out beyond ourselves to spread the gospel of Christ. We also take great pleasure in ministering to the needs of our people in our community. As God's called out kingdom people, we are in the business of transforming lives for the Master's use. For more information, you can visit our website at westwaycichurchofchrist.org or call us at 946-9294 or 917-1809.
Declaring the word of the Lord.
Cayman Islands Church of Christ presents Word of the Lord.
Word of the Lord, heard Sundays at 6:30 p.m. on Radio Cayman.
Island boy, I know my heart is in the Caribbean. Island boy, can't you hear your girlfriend saying, come back home to the land of the sea and the palmy beaches, where your heart has been since the very first day. I miss Gumby summer every evening, and the sailing boats beneath the bridge so high. I see the sun all around at dawning, and I think of this land that I still love. Island boy, you know your heart is in the Caribbean. Island boy, can't you hear your girlfriend saying, come back home to the land of the palmy beaches, where your heart has been since the very first day. I hear the cowbells on Juve morning, and I smell hibiscus in the sky above. I see the sun all around at dawning, and I think of this land that I love. I miss Gumby summer every evening, and the sailing boats beneath the bridge so high. I see the fish all around at dawning, and I think of this land that I love. Island boy, I know my heart is in the Caribbean. Island boy, can't you hear your girlfriend saying, come back home to the land of the palmy beaches, where your heart has been since the very first day. Island boy, you know your heart is in the Caribbean. Island boy, can't you hear your girlfriend saying, come back home to the land of the palmy beaches, where your heart has been since the very first day. Where your heart has been since the very first day. Where your heart has been since the very first day. The Cayman Islands. The Cayman Islands. Come from the island. The Cayman Islands.
We've been told that there's a little bit of a delay for the special government press briefing, but of course when it comes on, we broadcast it live right here on Radio Cayman. Keep it locked in.
The Cayman Islands. Come from the island. The Cayman Islands.
You're the one that I've been thinking of so long. You're the girl of my dreams, the one I adore. And I wanna tell you something. If you'll only stop and listen, and I said, lady, let's get together and build us a future. Let's make a plan for now and forever. Lady, let's be closer than we ever been. Again, let's get together and make sweet love. Let's be magic together when we hold each other. It's a way of love, so put your hands in mine, sweet lady. This is the love that I will not try compare. This is the love that is real and one that is rare. And you can take this as a sample, that this love is an example. I said, lady, let's get together and build us a future. Let's make a plan for now and forever. Let's make a plan for now and forever. Lady, let's be closer than we ever been. Again, let's get together and make sweet love. Let's be magic together when we hold each other. It's a way of love, so put your hands in mine. Lady, let's get together and build us a future. Let's make a plan for now and forever. Lady, let's be closer than we ever been. Again, let's get together and make sweet love. Let's be magic together when we hold each other. It's a way of love.
I am original yardie cruising through the hills and valley. Young girls, run, come catch me if you can. Just like Christine and Katie request me if you co-star in the movie. Them say them love my style and my physical attraction. Oh yes, brown girl dancing in the rain. I just wanna know your name. You look so fine, it's a shame. Yes, got to have you in my picture frame. 'Cause from the very first time I saw your face, I just wanna feel that space. But it was there and then, way back when, I just knew you'd have to give in. Brown girl, dancing in the rain. I just wanna know your name. You look so fine, it's a shame. Got to have you in my picture frame. I just wanna hold you tight, squeeze you and please you right into the middle of the night. Yes, we won't argue, fuss and fight, 'cause I've made sacrifice to make sure that you're satisfied. Oh yes, brown girl dancing in the rain. I just wanna know your name. You look so fine, it's a shame. Yes, got to have you in my picture frame. Brown girl dancing in the rain. I just wanna know your name. You look so fine, it's a shame. Got to have you in my picture frame. Got to have you in my picture frame. Got to have you in my picture frame. Picture frame. Picture frame.
I will walk, honest walk, wanna give me walk, honest walk. I will walk in the yard, I can be the guard. I will do art walk, and I do good walk. I will walk, honest walk, wanna give me walk, honest walk. I just want some honest walk.
Whoa, but I will walk honest walk. I'ma give me walk honest walk. I will spin touch rope. I will sail cat boat. I can do logbook. I can be the cook. You see, I will walk honest walk. Gonna give me walk honest walk. I just want some honest walk. TD, I will walk honest walk. Gonna give me walk honest walk. Give me construction, give me demolition. I'm walking for my freedom, and I'm running from the prison. You see, I will walk honest walk. Gonna give me walk honest walk. I just want some honest walk. Whoa, but I will walk honest walk. Gonna give me walk honest walk. I will spin touch rope. I will sail cat boat. I can do logbook. I can be the cook. You see, I will walk honest walk. Gonna give me walk honest walk. I just want some honest walk. TD, I will walk honest walk. Gonna give me walk honest walk. Give me construction, give me demolition. I'm walking for my freedom, and I'm running from the prison. You see, I will walk. You see, honest walk. Gonna give me walk. You see, honest walk. I just want some honest walk. Whoa, but I will walk.
Day by day they drink and dream, all men staring out to sea from the island, living on the island. And down in the harbor it's a show.
You're listening to Radio K-Man, and coming up in a few seconds, special government press briefing. Stand by, K-Man.
Living on the island.
Good afternoon to members of the media, members of our panel, as well as you, the viewing and listening public. We invite you to yet another press conference here at the CIG TV studios on the coronavirus or COVID-19. With us on the panel today, we have His Excellency the Governor, Mr. Martin Roper, Premier the Honorable Alden McLaughlin, the Honorable Dwayne Seymour, Minister for Health, Dr. John Lee, Chief Medical Officer, and Dr. Samuel Williams Rodriguez, who is the Medical Officer of Health. Welcome to the panel. Today we're going to begin our press briefing by asking Dr. John Lee to make a statement.
Good afternoon. The preliminary results have now come back from the first tests to be done on the presence of the novel coronavirus. Of these 20 tests, there were 19 samples sent from Health City, Cayman Islands, and one referred through the Health Services Authority. All the samples have tested negative for the virus causing COVID-19. The subjects of these investigations were being informed of the results before I provided you with this information. We will be sending the test samples for confirmation onwards to CARFA, as we would normally do to a reference laboratory, in particular when there is a new test that's been being used. The tests are being run in batches, and we await the results of the next tests, which should be available within the next 36 hours or so. In addition to the 24 tests that we have previously reported, there are a further 16, so there are 40 tests outstanding, which are a mixture of samples from both Health City and the Health Services Authority. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. John Lee. Now we'll move on to Premier McLaughlin.
Thank you,
Hello, everyone. I just want to underscore the point that Dr. Lee just made, that these are preliminary results, and we ought not to get overly excited at the result until we have the confirmation from CARFA. As this challenge rolls on, obviously the caucus and the cabinet are continuing to consider various measures to continue to constrain the spread or prevent, we hope, the spread of COVID-19 through the broader community. And so I am to announce that bars will be closed as of 11:59 p.m. on Sunday the 22nd of March, and restaurants restricted to takeout and delivery as of the same date. Also, all gyms, salons, spas, and public swimming pools will also be closed as of the same date. That is, as of 11:59 p.m. on Sunday, 22nd March, for an initial period of 2 weeks. Moving on to deal with the impact, the economic impact of the virus and the measures that we are taking to help constrain its spread, I am able to announce that the government will be making a one-time emergency COVID-19 or paying a one-time emergency COVID-19 stipend to permanent financial assistance recipients, that is the elderly persons or the disabled, seamen and veterans, and persons in receipt of ex gratia payments, to accommodate additional medical supplies and groceries. This will be a one-time payment in addition to the $850 they currently receive monthly. We will also be making a one-time emergency COVID-19 stipend payment to families presently receiving food vouchers to accommodate additional groceries and supplies. We are estimating a possible doubling in the number of families that we currently support. Current number is 311, and are budgeting to cover a 3-month period. This payment will be made on the 30th of March.
Thank you. We clearly are still living in unprecedented times, but I just want to say again that I support the measures that government is taking, and I pay tribute to the leadership of the Premier and Cabinet in dealing with this very difficult situation and taking these robust and challenging decisions which are absolutely required. And I do also want to say, I think that the news on the tests is preliminary, of course, but clearly they're negative at preliminary stage, so that is clearly reassuring news as of today. I have been in touch today with Baroness Sugg, who is the Minister for the Overseas Territories, and she has asked me to make sure that everybody in the islands is very aware that even though the UK itself is going through a very challenging situation, more challenging than we face currently here, the Overseas Territories are very much in the minds of UK ministers, and our commitment and I have been in touch today with Baroness Sugg, who is the Minister for the Overseas Territories, and she has asked me to make sure that everybody in the islands is very aware that even though the UK itself is going through a very challenging situation, more challenging than we face currently here, the Overseas Territories are very much in the minds of UK ministers, and our commitment and responsibility to the Overseas Territories remains steadfast. I do also want to say on law enforcement, I had a long meeting with the Police Commissioner this morning. 2 points there. One, I think our law enforcement agencies and our emergency service have a strong track record of stepping up in these islands in times of challenge and difficulty, and I have no hesitation in saying that they will do so this time, and I have every confidence in them. And I do want to repeat the message about fake news and rumours. I've discussed this again with the police commissioner this morning, and we will do everything within the law to take action against anyone who circulates malicious rumours, which can do huge damage and create panic in these situations. And I would just urge everybody to act responsibly. I'll leave it there. Thank you.
If I might just add, the governor has reminded me in his mention of fake news that there is a bit of fake news running out there that is creating some panic, particularly panic buying. There's a rumor this morning, or there was a rumor this morning, that the cargo ships would be stopped. That is absolutely untrue. We have again discussed these matters with the supermarket owners and importers, and everything is perfectly fine with respect to bringing supplies into the Cayman Islands. There is no need for any panic buying. There is plenty of food and other supplies available, with the notable shortage of sanitizers, which I think is an issue around the world right now.
Okay. Minister Seymour.
Good afternoon, listening public. As Minister of Health, it is my duty to address you. As we, as a government, continue to listen, pay attention to all of the happenings locally and worldwide, I ask persons to please adhere to the policies we are putting in place for your own safety. We are pressing for everyone to use their good conscience and don't be selfish in respecting the suggested distance of 6 feet and the washing of hands constantly. Please check on your neighbors and especially our elderly. Also, persons who have chronic lung disease, diabetes, bronchitis, cancer, or asthma. We ask you to check on your family members and isolate them soonest as possible. I ask those persons who smoke, until it's clear, please do not put anything in your lungs that are not natural. You may well be increasing your risks. This includes vaping. I met with the private doctors and the HSA team last night, and all is good, all is in good spirit to tackle this if it heightens. The Public Health England has visited all the hospitals, the HSA lab, the DH lab. They're also very active with MRCU, and the UCOT team has been very involved here in Cayman, and we thank them for their involvement. Self-isolation is very important for a country's ability to bounce back quickly to some normalcy. This disease is not prejudice. I thank you.
If I might just add something unrelated, but the minister has reminded me by his reference to the importance of isolation, to the fact that we are expecting some roughly 470 students back from the UK over the course of the next few days, and many more have come from the US and North America over the course of the last week. I want to urge all of those young people not to treat this break from school as a spring break, and not to be tempted into gathering in great groups and partying the day or the night away. This is a real health threat, and not just a threat to young people themselves, but to repeat myself for the umpteenth time, a major threat to their family, their friends, particularly the older members of the community, which might be their grandmother, grandfather, uncle, or aunt. It is important, if you've come from the UK or the US or indeed anywhere else across Europe or indeed the world these days, to self-isolate. Stay alone for 14 days until you are certain that you do not have the virus and therefore cannot pass it on.
Dr. Sam, do you have something to say?
Yes, I just want to add what Dr. Lee has said. The patient that have preliminary negative results, they have been contacted and they have been asked to stay in isolation until we have a confirmatory result from CARFA. Also, that the Public Health Department have been contacting a group of patients that we have in isolation at this time daily, just to make sure that they stay in isolation and just checking on them to see how they do it clinically.
Okay, now we open the floor to questions from the media.
Ms. Donovan, may I just...
Yes,
if I
Dr.
could
Lee.
just make one point of clarification, excuse me, just because I've been asked this several times today. The Public Health Department, Dr. Williams and myself, are requesting that anybody who returns goes into isolation as per the government has said. But this would include the whole household, because if we do not isolate the whole household, then there's no point in isolating that person. So whichever household they return to, that whole household will be isolated.
Thank you, Dr. Lee. Questions? Yes.
Ralph Lewis, Caymanian Times. Mr. Premier, there are concerns that the long lines at the DVDL, or the Vehicle License Department, may cause issues for not only the staff members that have to deal with these clients, but also the clients who are lined up waiting and have to go inside in the crowded environment. Are there plans to limit the number of people that go to these government agencies?
Indeed, the matter was raised with the minister just a few minutes ago, and we are looking to see how we can best address that. I hope it doesn't result in us having to close the facility, but if another solution cannot be worked out swiftly, that's what will happen.
My second one is there's a concern of those elderly people in the homes. Are the healthcare workers that are living there, are they isolated to protect those elderly that they're taking care of, particularly in their homes?
You mean the government?
Yes.
No, we have given advice to the healthcare caregivers of what they need to do to be sure that they protect themselves, and also, more importantly, they protect the elderly that they're taking care of them. But we have not given them a directive for them to be isolated.
More questions?
Good afternoon, Reshma Raghunath, Cayman Compass. Premier, just to talk about the stipends that you mentioned, what is the amount that is going to be paid? You give us a figure for the families in need. That's 311, I think. How many seamen and veterans, elderly, are getting the extra share payments, and what those stipends are going to look like?
So the one-off emergency stipend is $425. As I said, that's on top of what they receive on a monthly basis. We have currently 1,026 recipients of permanent financial assistance. We have 841 seamen and 81 veterans.
Okay, so in terms of the payments, you said 3 months and 1 month for the veterans. Are there any plans to include the Caymanian unemployed, who, the families that have been affected by the tourism industry that has basically, as you said yesterday, collapsed?
We are gearing up NAU to be able to process applications, and the applications are processed using a means test. So we're gearing up so that they can handle those applications by phone or by email, rather than having to have the face-to-face assessments that go on. So persons who are struggling will go through the same sort of means testing to determine whether or not they qualify for the assistance. And we're gearing up NAU not just in terms of personnel, but in terms of budget, so they can manage these issues.
Sorry, I just want to build on that point. Is there a specific amount that has been set aside to do these things that you and the administration, your administration, are planning? Can you give us an overall figure that has been planned to take care of these issues?
Well, we gave, I think that was announced previously, we gave the HSA an additional allocation of 1.1 million to help them on the preparation on the health side. Cabinet has also allocated $3 million from the disaster fund to be able to deal with contingencies arising out of this crisis.
Kevin Morales with the Cayman Compass. Mr. McLaughlin, we talked yesterday about the restrictions at the airport, which included that anybody arriving effective immediately would be isolated for 14 days. The Compass staff has received probably dozens of emails today or messages saying that they know of people who've heard directly from people who came right into the airport yesterday or this morning and heard nothing about it, right? Nothing was mentioned to them. Can you talk a little bit about that and how we actually enforce that?
It is impossible for us to import. That's why we refer to it as self-isolation. We have neither the legal force nor the resources to enforce self-isolation. It's only if someone is quarantined under the public health law, having been certified as possibly infectious or contagious by the chief medical health. It used to be called the chief public health officer. The medical officer of health, I think, is the correct title now. That you go into a quarantine basis, in which case it's not voluntary anymore. You are taken somewhere and required to stay there. We do not, and we would be fooling ourselves if we think that we have the resources. No country in the world does to enforce self-isolation for people who, on the surface, appear to be perfectly healthy. We're talking about thousands of people, and we simply would not have the resources to do that, and we don't. So that's why we continue to appeal to people to do what they know is right by themselves, by their community, by their families, because they are risking the health of the entire community by not doing so. I'll say, quite frankly, that is what has spurred along our decision to close the bars and restrict the operations of the restaurants, because it is in these sorts of places that lots of people, particularly young people, will congregate during this most dangerous of times.
Is there any measure in place to even, I guess, kind of mention to people as they're coming through, if they haven't watched the press conferences or haven't been keeping track of the news, should there be immigration officers or customs officers or somebody else at the airports just letting people know, hey, this is what we recommend you do?
Yes. In fact, we're working on the messages now, right now, and we hope to have them ready for tomorrow. The flights from the UK arrive on Thursday, Saturday, and Sunday, so that we can put one of these in the hands of every person who steps off the plane, every returning resident who steps off the plane.
Mr. McLaughlin, yesterday we talked about expatriate workers, if they are without a work permit now or if they lose their jobs, et cetera, they have to leave the island. And we had talked about that government isn't prepared to, I guess, wholesale support people who need to leave the island, that there was, I guess, an emergency fund of some sort, but that that wasn't going to be, something government was going to reach to right away. Again, we've heard from several people who say, even though thousands of expatriate workers leave all the time, they prepare for it and they're able to save for it. What happens if a worker is caught by surprise and doesn't have the money to go, or needs to go to a location where they can't get into, their airport is already shut down, something like that? What do we do in that scenario?
Right. So that is a very, very difficult question. In the first instance, their employer should step up and take responsibility for buying the ticket if that's what's keeping the person from going back. The more difficult question is, and we have some of these, many airports around the world are now closed down, and it is very, very difficult for people to get overseas. So we are going to have to continue to do an assessment of that, because obviously these people still need a roof over their head, they need to be able to live, they need to be able to eat. So we're going to obviously have to do an assessment of how many of those are in that situation, and in conjunction with their employer, seek to try to find some way to manage them. In very short order, there are going to be a lot of hotels with no guests. So finding a room for people in a contingency like that should not be that difficult.
If there's a worker who's in that scenario, should they reach out to immigration, or will immigration be reaching out to them, or how should the process work?
But it wouldn't be. I don't think it would be immigration. I mean, the responsible thing is for their employer to make the case to us, and we take the matter from there and see what can be done. I think probably the best department would be oh Lord, my mind's gone. My mind's gone blank completely.
Got a lot on your mind.
Blank.
Labor department,
community
or-
affairs, the community affairs ministry, and the departments which fall under that, and we look at the matter through that way, because this is very much a humanitarian crisis, and if people have nowhere to go and can't get there, obviously we have to look after them. But we would hope that their employer does their bit to look after their staff.
Thank you.
Okay, I have a few questions that I'll be fielding from the public as well as from other news agencies that may not be here. One of the first questions that I have, Premier, is what about the men and women of Northwood and Fairbanks prisons? What preparations are being put in place for them?
Well, perhaps I could say something on that. I mean, obviously, we're very aware of the specific challenges of Northwood. And in fact, I had a meeting with the director of the prison this morning. So, I mean, contingency planning is underway, and proper precautions to the extent that we can to safeguard the staff and the prisoners are being taken. And as of now, there are no major issues of concern, but we're obviously very aware of it, and it's something that we're looking at on an active basis.
Okay, leads me to the next question, which is, are the Cuban refugees that may be detained at this point, are they being repatriated back to Cuba?
Again, I think that is being looked at as well, but they're not being repatriated at the moment. But that is one of the things that is being looked at.
Okay. The next question is the NAU getting any extra hands to ensure that those that are most in need are actually, in fact, the persons who are going to be getting the help? In other words, this person is asking about people scamming the system.
Well, people are always trying to do that. Obviously, it's even more difficult now because we have NAU staff working remotely, because we want to minimize the risk of exposure.
Mm-hmm.
But because we are scaling back a whole lot of non-essential services in government, we will have the capacity to redeploy staff to pick up some of the strain if that becomes necessary. As I said earlier, we are budgeting both in terms of human and financial resources on the basis that the current demand will be doubled as a result of the crisis we're in. That is, quite frankly, anybody's guess. It's a very arbitrary number, but we have to start somewhere, and this is unprecedented. So,
I have a question from Wendy at CNS. She's asking, what about work permit holders who want to leave this week who are not from places that have direct flights from here, i.e. the Philippines, India, Europe? Will they be allowed to travel through the UK given all the bans that are in place?
I mean, if I could just make a comment on that, we have already had a number of queries from people in that situation, and my office is in touch with the UK Home Office. I mean, there may be some way of waiving the requirement for transit visas for people who need to get to the UK and then go on elsewhere. So those questions are under consideration, but I can't say we've got a yes on that yet. It's being looked at in the UK.
Okay. I have some other questions, but if Reshma, you don't want to go ahead.
Dr. Lee, I just want to get back to the tests and the results that you gave us today. Now, you said they're preliminary tests. We have been accredited to do these tests. Why do you say they're preliminary and we need the CAFA clearance?
I mean, when it comes down to the fine details, the accreditation of the laboratory at the HSA does not include this particular machine and this test. It's that machine actually exists in the forensic laboratory. The place that we're doing it, the machines that we have, all the equipment we have is absolutely correct. Public Health England have come and they've looked at the processes. I think it's important to know that all of the internal checks and controls that they did in setting it up all passed perfectly normally, and all the details of those have not given any cause for concern. So not only was the HSA entirely happy at going forward, and the person that is running the PCR machine is an exceedingly experienced scientist and with abilities to run PCR, and has been doing this for many years. This is not something new, but it's just this test that is new. And because it's a test of a potentially infectious agent, that's why Public Health England were keen to see what was being done. Another issue about Public Health England coming is that we're the first UK overseas territory to do it. So it's a first. They want to see if they can replicate the models or learn from the experience that they're gaining at the HSA and across the islands to share it to the other UK overseas territories. I think Bermuda's the only other country that may be able to get there in a short space of time, but we're a first amongst the UCOTs. So it is not unusual for any laboratory, well, it's normal for any laboratory which undertakes a new something or other to have it checked by somebody else. So if you take the very, very big and very well-respected laboratory at Colindale in the United Kingdom, when they started testing for COVID, they sent all of their things to another laboratory to test them until they'd done several thousands of these things and they knew that their systems were okay. So it's absolutely normal practice to do that. And it's normal practice here for us to do that. CARFA is the reference laboratory for the region. There are other countries that have got PCR machines, I think Barbados and Jamaica and a few others. So they will also be sending. Once your confidence level goes up, you may only send 1 in 10 or 1 in so many just as a check. But for the time being, because this is a new test, we're doing due diligence.
Okay, thank you for that. And still staying with those tests, we've gotten back the 20 results.
20.
I know we touched on this yesterday and you kind of skirted around it because we know who the patient is, but was the COVID-19 patient's wife among those 20? And the 20 that were tested, were they from Health City or was it a mix from the HSA and Health City?
I still don't feel at liberty to speak about any one person individually. Certainly the wife of the sadly deceased person is not a patient as well. She's just a member of the public.
So you would not be able to share
I don't
that?
feel that's reasonable, no.
Okay, I have some more questions. The next question is about how will immigration deal with people who came from medical treatment who are still recuperating and might overstay due to the ban?
We'll deal with that as humanely as we can. Obviously, we're not going to send sick people away until they've recuperated. We'll sort out whatever the issues are with immigration, with the regulations and the law to make sure that people are regularized, I think is the word that is used.
So obviously government is doing everything that they can to help everybody, but Your Excellency, there is one question that I'll repeat from yesterday because it's come back again several times today, and it's the issue of crime and how if the issue is being taken seriously enough and what the repercussions of all the layoffs and everything else could bring about. I think people they want to hear more about how that's going to be dealt with, that could be an increase in crime.
I mean, obviously, we hope that we don't get into that situation at all, but I had a meeting with the police commissioner this morning to go through exactly that and think about scenarios and think about contingency planning. But I think the point to stress here, ultimately, the security is a UK responsibility through me as governor, and the UK has a responsibility to all its overseas territories. So we would obviously sort security out ourselves with the resources that we have here on island, but were that ever to be a question mark, the UK is obligated and has a responsibility to come and support us. So, I mean, just to say that I'm very, very aware of some of the concerns that are being expressed around that. But now we have a very stable law and order situation.
Okay. To the doctors on the panel, one person wants to find out what's happening with the unit where people who might have to be hospitalized or are gravely ill because of the coronavirus would be housed, how the plans for that are going.
Yeah, we have mentioned before the HSA and other facilities in the island are actually ready to manage cases with suspected or confirmed with coronavirus. This unit was actually an extension in case we have many cases. The unit is ready, and we're on the process also waiting for the respirators to put in the unit, but the unit is ready to start.
Okay. Dr. Lee, I know yesterday you mentioned someone asked about ventilators, and you said that they were on their way. Do we have a number?
A number of ventilators.
Yes.
Yes, I mentioned yesterday there were 4 on their way.
4, okay. All right. Ralph?
Yes, this question is from the Premier. I know we are in uncharted territory right now, and the solution to a lot of the issues that we are seeing will be changes in our behavior. Do we have any departments that are staffed and ready to speak with our residents and our businesses how they're going to negotiate these uncharted territory, specifically individuals trying to make it with reduced salaries, and of course businesses who are struggling to stay afloat in this economy? Do we have any departments that they can contact and get advice and assistance and how to deal with these issues?
Right. So I hope tomorrow that Minister Hugh will be able to attend the press conference then and to talk about some of the ways that government is planning to assist businesses, particularly small businesses, through these very difficult times, including, we hope, with the assistance of CIDB, the Cayman Development Bank, soft loans. We are stretched as a team because we are having to think about just about every aspect of life in these islands. But thankfully, we started planning quite a ways in advance for what we could see coming down the pike, and so we are fairly well advanced with a lot of the planning for these. But we know we have to provide first for those who can't look after themselves. We've got to ensure that everybody has a roof over their head, food to eat, access to medical supplies and health care. So those are the 3 things we are planning most for. People need to keep their utilities on. I think we've worked that bit of it out. So now we have to focus on how we can keep as many businesses running as we possibly can, so that the whole country is not flat on its face, because government simply does not have the resources to do this sort of thing long term. We've got to keep the period as short as we possibly can to get through this.
Felicia.
Felicia Rankin-Solins from Radio Cayman. With so many kids now not being in school because they're closed, is there an update on how virtual or online teachings is being conducted for educational institutions?
I don't have that information readily at hand. I'll ask the Minister of Education to come on at some point and talk about that. But there are some schools I know that have been planning for this contingency for quite some time and are essentially carrying on classes, I shouldn't say as normal because it's not as normal, but as if they were still in the classroom. Not all schools are there, but I think it's probably best if I ask her to deal with that, or for me to get a proper brief on it. I don't have that detail. So.
I can tell you, Felicia, as a parent of a teenager who attends the Clifton Hunter High School, and I have nieces at John Gray, that both schools have sent out learning hubs for students where they can do virtual learning. It's a really good system, to be honest. So the parents sign up and help the students, their child, go through, but it has their classes on there, their lessons on there. My daughter's now, she just went through her mocks, so she's in year 11 getting ready for final exams. It actually offers mock exams online. So yeah, I can answer to the 2 public high schools. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, no problem. We're all in this together, right?
Come on up here.
So I have a few other questions from the public. If someone has returned from abroad and not self-isolated, should they call the police on that person? Should the police be called on that person?
Well, no, they aren't committing a crime, at least not as a matter of law. A crime against morality, perhaps. But again, we can only urge people to do the responsible thing. And a culture needs to develop very swiftly of really isolating those people if they don't self-isolate.
Yeah, I mean, I think we need peer pressure and pressure from friends and family, and it comes back to that point that, you know, this is a really difficult situation. If we're going to get through it, we really need everybody to step up and support everybody else. So I'm really asking people to think very carefully about how they behave.
So in the UK, pregnant women and those over the age of 70 have been asked to self-isolate for some 12 weeks. Is that something that we might put in place here?
Well, we haven't discussed about asking them to self-isolate. We did actually been advising them to stay home as much as possible, and we are making arrangement for them to get the medication at home and also try to arrange some type of consultation, like telemedicine or so, without them having to come out and go into the hospital. We are actually in the process right now of arranging especially for the elderly, to carry their medication and give them the medication a little bit more time that they normally have in order to prevent them from coming out of the house. And we are working with the NEOC in order to get the volunteers to do that. We are working out the logistics for that.
Okay. So one person wants to know, they have a family of visitors coming from the UK who obviously have been asked to self-isolate. What does that then mean for the local family? Do they have to self-isolate with them?
I think Dr. Lee answered that already.
Yes, they do. So anybody sharing the same household, or else it's just not an effective request.
Right.
In order to try and minimize any risks.
Yeah, I think we just need to hear it over and over again. That's
Sure,
why
I understand.
Rashma?
Thank you. This question is for the Premier. To go back to the ban, just to go back to the ban that you announced for bars and the restrictions on restaurants. What are the penalties? Is it the same as the $1,000 fine and the 6 months imprisonment if they breach it? And also for the students, you sent a strong warning to them not to gather. What are the penalties if they break that?
Well, this will form these provisions with respect to the restriction on the operations of restaurants and the closure of the bars will get added to the list of regulations, the COVID control regulations. So they will have the force of law, as does the restriction on more than 50 persons gathering together in one place. So yes, if you are in breach of those, you're actually in breach of the law and subject to the penalties under those regulations, which you correctly outlined just now.
Okay, just continuing on that point, I know, Governor, you met with the police commissioner. Was part of that discussion including patrols to ensure that these restrictions are being followed and to ensure that the numbers are being kept to the level that has been stipulated by government?
Absolutely. They are doing that, and yes, they have visited some establishments that may not have been acting entirely in line with the law. So, you know, as the Premier said, the law is the law, and we have to ensure that people obey the law.
Have you had to, do you know, in that briefing, if any bars, restaurants, or any of the businesses were shut down because of breaching the law, or any offences coming out of that?
People were spoken to, but I'm not aware of any being shut down, but it's sort of somewhat academic, as that's now being overtaken by today's announcement.
If I've gotten a response from my minister with responsibility for the DVDL, Mr. Lewis. So they've already taken action. Now employees are being spaced 6 feet apart, seating for those who are waiting 6 feet apart. The written test is conducted 6 feet apart from the person who's actually doing it. We have canceled all driving tests going forward, and we're activating the online renewal of driver's licenses. A press release will follow.
There was a question in relation to the person that was on board the Cayman Airways flight, and I'd just like to say, I know you answered that question already in a previous previous press briefing, and I believe that person was not symptomatic, Dr. Samuel, if I remember you correctly saying that the person that was quarantined on the Cayman Airways flight turned out to not be, they weren't showing the symptoms of coronavirus.
Well, that patient was assessed in the Accident and Emergency Department at the HSA.
Right.
And the report from the attending physician is that the symptoms of the patient were not consistent with coronavirus.
Okay. So hopefully that answers the question for those who are listening and asking about it. Premier McLaughlin, if you could touch on the considerations being given to the pension freeze. A lot of people are asking about that.
We're still having those discussions. Obviously, the people most affected by this would be people in the private sector, not the Public Service Pension Fund, but the I think it's just called the Pensions Fund Law, which governs people in the private sector. So those services are provided by pensions providers outside of government. So we have to have the discussions with them about it, about the implications of making those changes.
Right.
So we're working on it, but we're not there yet.
Okay. Kevin?
Mr. McLaughlin, has any consideration been given to, I guess, taking some of these social restrictions a step further and just having an all-out curfew or anything like that?
Well, we don't think we need go there yet. Our response, we're trying to be rational and proportionate to the perceived risk. As of now, we have one COVID case confirmed, and that's resulted in, unfortunately, in death. But we don't have any other evidence of any community transmission. So while we are doing everything we can to change people's behaviors, so that, because we believe it is inevitable that we're going to have to deal with this. And if we change people's behaviors, we slow down the transmission or prevent the transmission of the disease. But we don't want to ratchet it up to curfew stage right now when there is no real basis to do so. Because it is difficult enough to get people to comply with provisions which are rational and proportionate. If people start to believe that we're going over the top, then we don't have enough police officers to enforce that.
Thank you for that. One of the measures that we've been talking about is, washing your hands and going to get some antibacterial hand lotion, whatever. We
Soap and water is fine too.
And soap and water is fine too.
It's actually better.
It's better. One of the things that we continue to hear about, though, is if people do want to go get some hand lotion, there are concerns about price gouging. And I understand that there is some sort of consumer protection legislation that does exist, that the name of it escapes me. Have you looked at that? Is that a concern of yours? And what can government do to make sure that prices are fair?
Well, we've had all the supermarket folk in, all the importers in. The prices of sanitizers in particular have gone through the roof because it's a question of demand and supply the world over. I don't know that we have any basis to conclude that there's any price gouging going on. Prices have gone up, but importers have to pay the prices that are being fixed elsewhere. So I don't know that well, I can be more firm that government at this point has no basis to conclude that that there's price gouging going on in Cayman.
Thank you. And I do have one for Dr. Lee before I give up the mic. Dr. Lee, you had mentioned the 4 ventilators that are on the way to Cayman, and I apologize if you've answered this in previous press conferences, but once the 4 get here, what will be the total number, and is that adequate?
Yeah, so the questions come several times in different forms. The HSA currently has 7 ventilated beds. And the reason we call them beds is because you have to have a bed. No point having a machine if there's no bed there. And if you say you've got a ventilated bed, you're saying that I've got the staff to go with it, and the whole package is available. The counts that I've previously given for the countries around the world and the comparison with Cayman are based not on specifically a ventilator bed. It's ventilator or high dependency unit, because a lot of high dependency units do other things. They don't necessarily ventilate you. They may have things like PEEP or a bird or other things to enhance. They're just terms that I was once an anaesthetist. Terms that anaesthetists use to supplement people's breathing. But it means you've got a lot more kit around the bed in order to help that person. You could sort of dialyze somebody in a high dependency bed, although you might not necessarily ventilate them, but they're at the same, they're very high nursing to patient ratio. So the HSA has got 7 ventilated beds. There are 4 more ventilators coming, which means they'll move to 11 ventilated beds. There is 1 ventilator on Faith, but I don't normally count that because although it can be used in the short term, they're not staffed to manage that. Although there are staff there who are able to, there's an anaesthetist, because of the way they manage their health systems, that's, as we know, is only used for short-term emergencies, and then the patient is transferred somewhere else. The Health City has 21 high dependency or ventilated beds. So that is the number. I don't have the precise breakdown of how many ventilated and how many high dependency, but there's 21. So the total is 21 plus 7 is 28, plus the 4 is 32, plus or minus the 1 that Faith has.
And are you satisfied with that number?
Yeah, as I've said before, that number far exceeds other countries' capacity. But yes, we're isolated, but still it really far exceeds that. So am I satisfied? In a crisis like this where people need hospital beds, it'd be lovely if we could build another 1,000-bedded hospital, but we can't. So we are increasing our surge capacity across the board, and all of the hospitals have readied themselves for that. In addition to that, we're thinking of, we're thinking really hard. When I say we're thinking, it just sounds like we're not doing a lot of work, but we're looking for buildings around that, should we need them, we'll be able to, and we're working towards staffing and the buildings themselves to be able to give people more medical level care than they could get at home in buildings that will need to be identified. This is not the same as quarantine. What I want to see is buildings that we can designate saying this is an emergency medical facility, essentially. Should that need arise, if we can flatten the curve enough, or if we manage to stop it, I really hope we will never need that.
Thank you.
This next question is about public transport. People are in very close confines. How's that being addressed? Will the public transport system be shut down at some point? What will happen there?
Well, that is a distinct possibility because people in very close contact with each other increase the risk of the transmission, and we all know how tight it can get on those minibuses from time to time. So, but the public also needs to exercise some discretion and some judgment about how they behave. I mean, we don't have a police officer to follow everybody around to make sure they're doing what they should be doing. So, most people have good, solid common sense, and people need to adjust their behaviors, knowing what we're dealing with in terms of this crisis.
Okay. Another question. What about companies that are choosing to keep on their employees but are keeping those on work permits instead of Caymanians? I got 2 questions about that.
Well, I don't have any evidence of that yet. All we've had a number of companies, businesses in the private sector, in the tourism industry, the hospitality industry, who have written to us and say, if it is 3 weeks, we're keeping on all of our staff. We're just going to pay them and send them home. Now, not everybody's going to be able to do that. Right. But as yet, we don't have, I'm not aware of any complaints of a Caymanian who has been sent home so that a work permit holder can, or while a work permit holder is allowed to continue. Okay. But of course, not all jobs are the same. So the fact that a work permit holder is being kept on and the Caymanian sent home, it doesn't mean that there's anything discriminatory about that. Right. The work permit holder might be a manager, and the Caymanian being sent home, a server.
Right.
So you can't just say one for one.
Sure.
You got to look at it properly.
Absolutely. There's another question. Actually, no. This is some information to Felicia's question about schools. Patrice from the ministry said that government schools, specifically primary schools, have arranged paper packets, and they're continuously looking at online resources with the knowledge that not all students will have access to computers and internet. So there's an answer for you there. Any more questions from the media? Oh, Rashma, go ahead.
Thank you. Dr. Lee, I'm going back to you. The cases that we have, can you tell us how soon we're going to get the results for the 24 cases that will be tested? And apart from that, are there any other additional tests or any other additional cases that have come up since we last met yesterday?
Yeah. So
You answered that already.
yeah. So the 24 that we have we're waiting for the results of. They're going through the system now. They have to go through confirmatory checks. So even after you've gone through one lot, you have to go back to it again, and then we have to make absolutely sure that the details are. Just to inform you that we have to make absolutely sure that the numbers that are coming out of the machine match the numbers that have been recorded on the hospital system. So they have to be very careful. So I would imagine it's within 24 to 36 hours for the follow-up test. Additionally, as I mentioned, that of the 24 we're awaiting, there are another 16 that have been added. So there's a total of 40 that we're now going through the system.
So the preliminary tests, they're going through a 24 to 36 hour process, and the remaining tests have to go through another 24 hour and 36 hour. So then we'll have those results tomorrow?
Yeah, so at the moment, I think Dr. Sam may know better than I, but Dr. Williams, sorry, I beg your pardon. So at the moment, yesterday's were batched clearly, as you saw, at 20s. I think they're still batching in 20s. So there's I don't know, probably around a 12 to 24 hour per 20 that's appearing. But it's difficult to be hard and fast because this is a new process. Once they get into the swing of things, then their answers will come out faster. I think they're also hoping to have a robot come. I don't quite know what the robot's going to do, but that will help to automate parts of the process and speed things along. I didn't know, Dr. Williams.
Yeah, that's correct. They're doing it in batches of 20. But remember, we're getting samples regularly, not only from the HSA, but also from the private sector and also from other hospitals. So this number will continue to increase. But up to now, we're doing 40 samples that we should have a result between 24 to 36 hours. The robot that Dr. Lee has mentioned is actually to extract the samples in an automated way, which will extract it faster and will allow us to do more samples faster. And that is on our way.
There's a rider that I wish to put on all of this. We do have a limit to the amount of reagents that we currently have in order to do the testing. We are doing everything we can to get more supplies in. But like everything in this emergency, they're difficult to get hold of.
Dr. Lee or Dr. Williams, I think what's not quite clear, and still not clear to me either, is the confirmatory tests, which are being sent to CARFA with respect to the 20 that we've gotten a negative result on. How long will that process take?
Yes, so that was sort of breaking news when we walked in here. So to work out those, we have to work out those details. But in general terms, I can say we normally send to CARFA. We used to have agreements to send to CARFA on Mondays and Thursdays using our courier. That courier has subsequently declined to further take the samples of COVID. So this is a really active issue. Another courier has said they would be willing to do so. So it needs to be worked out still.
Okay. I just don't want people to come tomorrow expecting for us to have the results.
Those are going to take about a week. Right. The confirmatory is going to take a while. Yeah,
right. That's correct.
Okay. Some persons would like either one of the doctors to address the issue of pregnant women. There's a high concern for women who are pregnant on the island and what they should be doing and how they're being prepared for.
Avoid it.
Well, we are aware that the pregnant woman should contact the obstetrician to get advice from him or her. I am aware that the HSA obstetrician are developing a plan on how to assess, and they will continue to provide service to women during pregnancy, antenatal services. They need to follow the same advice that we have given to everyone in the population. Keep your distance, hand hygiene, and in that sense, they will be okay. But I'm aware that the HSA have a plan to contact the pregnant ladies and also follow up of them. That clinic will not stop, of course.
Yeah, so Ms. Turner, we're not trying to dodge that question. It's just that there isn't enough scientific information to be give you a firm and clear answer as you'd like. And in many of these situations, to be honest, a lot of the specialist areas, like let's say neurosurgery or obstetrics or whichever, they will be doing a lot more specialist and in-depth work. So in cases which become more and more specialized, please reach out to your specialist provider, because they will have access to the specialist knowledge about that particular area of health. But the evidence that's come out to date has not given any specifics, hasn't said anything specifically about that group. Nothing's jumped out of the evidence that's been, the epidemiological evidence that's been looked at so far, but more will come as time passes.
Okay. Okay, if there are no more questions from the floor, you have another question, Rashma? Go ahead.
Premier, this is for you, kind of twofold, if I can. My first question is, in terms of the opposition, how have they been involved in this? The discussions, the meetings, the process, has there been any involvement in terms of relaying the information, and how MLAs themselves, government MLAs and opposition MLAs, are treating with their own constituents in the response to this health crisis? And my second question, which I'll remember in a little bit, I'll let you answer first.
Well, the leader of the opposition is a member of the Hazard Management Executive and has been in the one meeting that was held with respect to that. These decisions that are being taken are either cabinet decisions or executive decisions that are taken by the governor. While we can have consultation regarding these matters, these are decisions, the making of regulations, and so forth, are matters for the cabinet. So the opposition is not involved in that process.
Can I add to that? I just need to add that from a medical perspective, we have met twice with a member of the opposition, the CMO, the HSA, hazard management, and myself, and giving them information of what we're doing and also what measure they should take to the constituents.
Thank you. And I remember my question. It was one that was sent in to us. There are reports that employers are forcing employees to use their vacation time, their sick time, while we have this 2 weeks, 3 week closure situation with the bans and stuff like that. Is government aware of this? What sort of measures are in place or can be put in place to ensure that employees are not being disadvantaged while we have these bans in place?
I haven't had any complaints regarding that, but as I told a lawyer for an employer last night, informally, the labor law is still very much in effect. There's nothing that's been done to suspend the provisions of the labor law. So any employer who behaves other than in accordance with the labor law is in breach of the law.
The only other thing I would like to say about that is that if employers are forcing or asking employees to take vacation, normally vacation is paid, so that might be to their advantage.
I have another question for the doctors. This one says, will we be getting any interferon 24 from Cuba? Apparently it's a medicine that they're using to treat positive corona patients.
I think that's not the only treatment that may be showing promise. But with all of these things, we need to allow them to go through the proper trials. When you have a new condition like this, the trials are done exceedingly speedily, especially if it's something that is already a licensed medical product, because it's much easier to do a trial like that with people. And there are combinations of what the doctors call biologics as well, drugs that affect some of the systems which just weren't around 15, 20 years ago, or just coming on the market 20 years ago, which are now regularly used to treat viral diseases and other immune conditions and cancers. Cancers is a relatively more recent thing. So there are combinations of those as well, which are showing some promise. But until such time as the medical scientific community says, yes, this is the way to go, we would wait for that guidance.
Okay. If we don't have any more questions from Kevin?
I do have one more.
We'll be back
for
tomorrow,
Ms.
you know.
for Ms. McLaughlin. I know. You'd be, the questions just keep piling up, though, right?
Yes, they do.
And we do
Yeah.
really appreciate everybody's time, so thank you very much. I did hear from a couple, I guess, managerial level people in their respective establishments. And they just want to clarify a couple things. The list that you had said before, it was bars, spas, a handful of others, but those will be the only ones that fall under these restrictions, right? Other establishments won't be
So
treated the same way.
What I'm doing today is giving notice that that's what the cabinet proposes to do, because we want to give people as much notice so they can prepare. Obviously, when we are refining this, there may well be something else that's added to the list. So I don't want to give it those kinds of undertakings now.
All right, thank you. So we'll clarify, I guess, at that point. And one other question, we had somebody who had asked, when you take out a work permit for somebody, there's a repatriation fee. What happens to that, and could that potentially go toward, helping an employee get home?
We went through this yesterday. The repatriation fee is a non-refundable fee to be used in circumstances where it is impossible for the employee to get back home for one reason or another. But as I said yesterday, it is rarely ever used. Thousands of people on work permit go home every year, and others come back and forth. So in the normal course of events, we would expect the employer and or employee to have a return ticket when they come to Cayman. So it would only be in an extreme case that government would expect to draw on that fund to help send somebody back, if there is no other way.
In some of those circumstances we talked earlier about in this press conference, would those be considered possibly some of those extreme cases?
Well, I don't know. What we talked about that I agree with you about is where persons can't get home because the airports are closed or they can't get through the UK or the US or wherever the case may be. That's a different circumstance. We'd have to make provision for them. But, we'd really need to be convinced that the employer and the employee can't put together the ticket money, and there'll be dire consequences if they have to stay here because they have no money for food and housing and all of those things. Right. In those sort of circumstances, government would, I'm certain, pay the repatriation fee. But this is really not a decision for me. Those are administrative decisions that are taken at another level.
I must say, though, Kevin, if we think of this repatriation fee, it was always frowned upon by the Immigration Department if a person had to be sent home through that means. In terms, so I caution persons to not try to utilize that means because it always has an adverse effect, as I've seen in the past. So I caution.
Thank you.
On the basis that the panel will be back again tomorrow, I do have 3 final questions for you.
Three final questions.
And then we're going to end this. So one question is about practicing what you preach. The Immigration Department, you go in, the officers are all sitting 6 feet apart, but then they have clients who come in that are not 6 feet apart.
Yeah. This is all new for everyone.
Yeah.
We're constantly adjusting. Thank you for telling me that immigration is under one of the ministries I have responsibility for. So we'll certainly look into that.
Okay.
Again, that's a place where lots of people congregate. And if push comes to shove, we may have to think about seriously dialing down the level of services that we provide with respect to some of these matters. But I would hate to have to do that now with immigration, given where we are in this process. Once we get to Sunday, then I think things will calm down a lot because the people who want to leave or need to leave should be gone on Sunday, by Sunday.
Okay. I think it was only 2 questions. Okay. So if that's it, we're going to wrap up the press briefing for today. We'd like to thank our panelists and, of course, you, the media, and the viewing and listening public for joining us here on CIG TV. You can watch the press conference again tonight or this evening following the news brief here on CIG Television. We'll see you back here again tomorrow.
Radio Cayman, your voice, your choice, your radio. Again, you can hear a repeat of the press conference that you just heard in regards to the coronavirus following our information hour at 7 p.m. right here on Radio Cayman. Thank you so much for being a part of Radio Cayman.
Radio. With the switch of a dial, radio brings you tragedy, comedy, entertainment, information, education, a whole world at your command.
Give me some sound over here.
Radio Cayman's Super Jam Show.
Radio. Proudly sponsored by the Cayman Islands Football Association. SIFA, building a better future for Cayman football.
Word up, and we in effect. Keep on listening.
Super Jam. The Super Jam Show is fueled by the proud sponsorship of insurance agent Michael Webster from Cayman Insurance Center. Don't take chances with your family's future.
Another proud sponsor of the Super Jam Show.
Merengue Town. Time to feel the rhythm. Time to feel the vibe. It's time for Merengue Town.
And by the Lions Club of Grand Cayman, Benzorama. Get your raffle ticket to win a 2020 Mercedes-Benz A200.
I'm Michael Webster.
And I'm Denise Brown of Cayman Insurance Center.
Family is not the most important thing, it's everything.
And for 45 years, we have worked with the community and their families on protecting themselves for the future.
Whether it's providing top-rated life insurance
or protecting your family's household investment.
From our family to yours, we understand and we care.
I'm Denise Brown. Call me at 814-7229.
And I'm Michael Webster at 925-5433.
We are Cayman Insurance Center,
specializing in property, life, and other lines of insurance products and services at an affordable rate. We are Michael and
Denise at Cayman Insurance Center.
Call today.
This is definitely one of the most lethal influenza viruses that we have seen so far.
Pandemic.
Pandemic.
It just takes one person to start an outbreak.
Just wish the COVID-19 virus would just go away.
It is so disruptive. No school, no church, no sporting events, and no action in Cayman Brac.
Stay safe, everybody. Wash your hands, rest well, pray a lot, and take vitamins.
Drink some carrot juice, coconut water, and beet juice to boost up your immune system.
When we talk about another flu pandemic happening, it's not a matter of if, but when.
Speaking of a boost,
NDC will be our guest this week to talk about Alcohol Awareness Month.
Join us this Wednesday from 4 to 5 p.m. right here on Radio Cayman, 89.9 FM, and you can also check us out on YouTube Live. And for Youth Flex, a program for all people by young people. Youth Flex, we're in talk.
Come get me some Lysol now.
SIFA, the Cayman Football Association.
Hey, fellas, we ain't gonna ever back down from nobody.
This is Alfredo Whitaker, president of the Cayman Islands Football Association.
I don't care who it is. This is a brotherhood. And if we stand strong together, we can't be denied.
Show your support. Your teams are working hard to be the best.
SIFA,
Cayman Islands Football Association.
Building a better future for Cayman football.
If one of us go down, we have another, and another, and another that's ready to fight.
Radio Cayman and SIFA, your team. 2020, your year.
So let's hit this field and bang them.
SIFA, Cayman Island Football Association.
Go out and support the matches in your district.
Take a time out from your busy week at Merengue Town. Easy vibes, happy times. Feel the vibes and flow of Merengue Town. Every night is a new night to feel the flow. Drink specials, pool table, and top island DJs weekly. Cheers! Had Sam, Diane, and Woody. Merengue Town has the beautiful Elizabeth, Ibis, and Johnny. Shed your stress. It's time to feel the rhythm. Time to feel the vibes. It's time for Merengue Town.
Your loose change may not seem like much right now, but we know that it does add up to a lot once you put it all together. Last year, the Meals on Wheels Change for Change coin drive raised enough to provide over 6,000 nutritious hot meals to some of the most vulnerable members of our country, our seniors. We seek your generous donations once again as we aim to continue to serve over 50,000 meals per year. Please gather up your loose change, empty your coin jar, or whatever amount you can afford to donate when you see Meals on Wheels volunteers stationed around Grand Cayman on March 27th and 28th. Join Cayman Islands Meals on Wheels, Davenport Development, and Radio Cayman in the fight to end senior hunger in the Cayman Islands. Visit mealsonwheels.ky to learn more.
Area code 345 music.
watching. And when I out on the road, you want to jam me. And when I behind the truck, when I start walking up, today you gon' get the mercy if I give you the permission to wind up on me. No regrets once you in this party. When I give you the permission to touch me body. Watch me bumper rolling, watch how I controlling, watch how I just rolling, watch how I controlling it, watch how I just rolling, watch how I controlling, watch me bumper roll, watch me bumper roll. I want you to hold on tight, let me give you what you want, give you what you need. Come darling and hold on hold me tight. I gon' give you what you want, give you what you need. Coming to give me walk, try so handle me. How soca is your life, and no way I leave in your side. Today you gon' get the mercy if I give you the permission to wind up on me. No regrets once you in this party. When I give you the permission to touch me body. Watch me bumper rolling, watch how I controlling, watch how I just rolling, watch how I controlling it. Watch how I just roll it, watch how I control it. Watch me bumper roll, watch me bumper roll. I want you to hold on tight. Let me give you what you want, give you what you need. Come darling and hold on tight, hold me tight. I gon' give you what you want, give you what you need. If you want it, come and get it, darling, don't be shy. If you want it, come and get it, I don't tell no lie. Watch me in me eye, all is yours, all is yours. If you want it, come and get it, darling, don't be shy. If you want it, come and get it, I don't tell no lie. If you want it, come and get it, watch me in me eye, all is yours, all is yours. When I give you the wine, don't be wasting the time. When I give you the thing, let me give you the thing. Hold me closer. Watch me bumper rolling, watch how I controlling, watch how I just rolling, watch how I controlling it, watch how I just rolling, watch how I controlling, watch me bumper roll, watch me bumper roll. I want you to hold on tight, let me give you what you want, give you what you need. Come darling and hold on tight, hold me tight. I gon' give you what you want, give you what you need. If you want it, come and get it, darling, don't be shy. If you want it, come and get it, I don't tell no lie. If you want it, come and get it, watch me in me eye. All is yours, all is yours. If you want it, come and get it, darling, don't be shy. If you want it, come and get it, I don't tell no lie. If you want it, come and get it, watch me in me eye. All is yours, all is yours. If you want it, come and get it. If you want it, come and get it. If you want it, come and get it. If you want it, come and get it.
Understand. I don't wanna lose my focus, and I don't wanna waste your time. I wanna show you who I really am. And if time makes it possible to love, well, was you. Now I've opened up, and now you know the truth. Now it's time to take my chances. And if time makes it possible to love, well, I can't wait no more. I can't wait no more. It's unbelievable. Now I know exactly where I wanna be. I don't wanna be too far from reality. The only difference is me. I want permission so I can take the lead. And if time makes it possible to love, well, I can't wait no more. I can't wait no more. It's unbelievable. You should know that I cherish every moment, and I'm gonna give you what you need. You should know that I'm feeling motivated, and girl, you know I'm stuck on you. And if time makes it possible to love, well, I can't wait no more. I can't wait no more. It's unbelievable. No more. I can't wait no more. It's unbelievable. No more. I can't wait no more. It's unbelievable. No It's unbelievable.
Area code 3, round 4, round 5.
Area code 345. Back-to-back local talents. This is
Local Sound Nation.
I wish you would spend some time with me, girl. I just want the loving that you're holding back. I know I could spend all night with you, girl. Yes, I got the loving and that's a fact. Do it all, good and bad, saw the signs. Minds are blown, but the love still resides. I wish you would spend some time with me, girl. But you wanna give it up, give it up, give it up, give it up. But you wanna go ahead and give it up, give it up, give it up. But you wanna go ahead and give it up. Too much thoughts inside my head, I just want my love instead. I just want your love, I just want your time. Girl, you always said we're done, I said we're not through yet. Baby, when it's time, then we'll draw the line. Thinking of the good things done with me, girl. Baby, just give me all the love I want. I know it's a lot to ask from you, girl, but I promise, baby, this the final shot. I've been thinking about you all day and night. Wish that all of the dark turned to light. Said I know it's hard, but it's bound to see. Baby, just come here, sit right next to me. Do it all, good and bad, saw the signs. Minds are blown, but the love still resides. I wish you would spend some time with me, girl. But you wanna give it up, give it up, give it up, give it up. But you wanna go ahead and give it up, give it up, give it up. But you wanna go ahead and give it up. It's yours for the taking. And our love is shaking. I just want the love, I just want your time. Baby, give me more, baby, give me mine. And my heart is breaking. Give it up, give it up. I just want the love, I just want your time. Give it up, give it up. I just want the love, I just want your time. It starts inside my head, I just want my love. I just want your love, I just want your time. You always say we're done, I say we're not. Baby, when it stops, it starts inside my head. I just want my love instead. But you wanna give it up.
What a moment in time. Yes, it's, of course, a generation of cover your mouth when you cough or sneeze. It's a generation of keeping your hands clean. Sanitization, that's right. What a generation we are a part of, man. Keep yourself safe, Cayman Islands. Keep yourself safe, world. As we continue the best of Cayman back to back to back. Audrey Destune, Secure.
Vasco, let's go. You want me tight till I feel secure. Don't let me go. Yeah, give me all that I need and more. And that's for sure. You hold me tight till I feel secure. Don't let me go. Yeah, give me all I need and more. And that's for sure. Baby, I am for you, you are for me. Baby, I love you like a long time. I wanna give you all my loving. Know you love it. I will stay by your side. You make me wanna walk and skip and run and jump up right straight into your arms. Cause I loving you so nice. The loving you so nice. You hold me tight till I feel secure. Don't let me go. Yeah, give me all that I need and more. And that's for sure. Yeah, hold me tight till I feel secure. Don't let me go. Yeah, give me all I need and more. And that's for sure. I'm missing baby, me just want to love you down. Me have a whole pile for giving it, now go wrong. Because this love just for you, know it, now share out. You're all about me, you're all I'm about. Your bad, no bum beat. You know put me in a race, so me not fi compete. No 99, you keep it 100. Me just want to love and kiss you up, baby. You hold me tight till I feel secure. Don't let me go. Yeah, give me all that I need and more. And that's for sure. Yeah, hold me tight till I feel secure. Don't let me go. Yeah, give me all I need and more. And that's for sure. Baby, I'll even when the sky up fall. Just squeeze me tight, keep me safe in your arms. Protect like nothing can do me no harm, baby. Your love so good, me not gonna leave. And that you need for know. And that you need for know. You hold me tight till I feel secure. Don't let me go. Yeah, give me all that I need and more. And that's for sure. Yeah, hold me tight till I feel secure. Don't let me go. Yeah, give me all I need and more. And that's for sure. Yeah, hold me tight till I feel secure. Don't let me go. Yeah, give me all that I need and more. And that's for sure. Yeah, hold me tight till I feel secure. Don't let me go. Yeah, give me all I need and more. And that's for sure.
Local Sound Nation.
Cayman back to back.
Local Sound Nation.
Local Sound Nation.
You are listening to Radio Cayman Super Jam. Local Sound Nation.
All in our control. I got a bad chick drinking Kung So. Iguana low for shows. Girl, look me in my eyes. My style got you hypnotized, yeah. This island boy life, yeah. Got me living by the beach side, yeah. I'm not telling no lie, yeah. My style got you hypnotized, yeah. My style got you hypnotized, yeah. So you better get ready for like me. In the mirror, dressing up for dinner. You hotter than cayenne pepper. You with a Jenna. Fly like a propeller. The girl I'm with her. We hustle every day. I remember when I used to beg $1. Lately, when them look and them see me with the stars on reality TV. The girl I'm love by the way how I'm rolling. And them wine for me. And my diamonds clear like the ocean. And them a dance like it's a gypsy. If you're not rolling with my team, move to the side. Mercedes when I pull up if you pre the sign. Shining bright cause you know I got a gifted mind. We celebrate cause you know we have one life. That's why vibes when you step in. Me and my virgins, Hennessy sipping with a liquor medicine. Put up on a level like the Jacksons. No more stressing. This life is a blessing. I move off with your thing when you're missing. A beachfront me a free to invest in. You a call, we asleep in a West End. And she couldn't keep her hands them off me. Girl, look me in my eyes. My style got you hypnotized, yeah. This island boy life, yeah. Got me living by the beach side, yeah. I'm not telling no lie, yeah. My style got you hypnotized, yeah. My style got you hypnotized, yeah. So you better get ready for me. And if you're ready, then I'm ready for the loving. Then I'm sending, girl, your body feel like heaven. When I'm rubbing on your belly, hold steady. Then I give you D like heaven. No money, she want the harder way like penny. We grind in the morning. I'm trying to get checks. Yeah. Like working the faucets, I'm stacking the chips and the bread. You not like that, me not concerned. Move through the haters, me a swerve. Them a chat up like a parrot and a chirp. While I'm island pretty girls just a twerk. Them back it up like them party. Got me up like I'm drinking coffee. Where you want me a pre that toe? Then I keep it moving like a step on the lows. I live on the island, the water is flow. I skank while I step, I do it so smooth. No bleach thing, but my face feel cold. These designer shades got a nigga looking so good. We party till the street light. Do what we feel like. That's how we do it in CI. No gang bang but a sea life. Coconut tree life. Wet and wild jet ski life. In all of my beach is nice. Click on my IG life. No feel. If I post it then I better bear likes. That's how we living when we live in paradise. Girl look me in my eyes.
It's Asmi RC
10 until midday.
Asmi
Here I am stuck in the middle with you.
RC
Fusion.
Today's biggest news.
Radio K-Man.
It's only 2 species that we have here on the island.
Your voice, your choice. For today's biggest news.
Access.
Local, regional, international. This is headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom team.
Today's biggest news.
In the latest coronavirus press conference today, public health officials have said that Cayman has no new cases of the coronavirus after 20 tests, including 19 from Health City staff, came back negative. 40 tests are still outstanding, with results coming in a couple of days. Tune into Radio Cayman at 7 p.m. for a repeat of today's COVID-19 press conference. Good afternoon once again. I'm Dion Anglin with your headlines and news elsewhere. U.S. Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin says he supports sending money directly to Americans as part of a $1 trillion stimulus aimed at averting an economic crisis caused by the coronavirus. He said they're looking at sending checks to Americans immediately. The $250 billion in checks are part of a huge aid package, which the White House is discussing with Congress. And Euro 2020 has been postponed by 1 year until 2021 because of the coronavirus pandemic. European football's governing body made the decision during an emergency video conference involving major stakeholders today. The tournament, due to take place from June 12th through July 12th this summer, will now run from June 11th to July 11th next year. That's a wrap of your headlines. I'm Dion Anglin.
Stay in touch with Radio Cayman for the latest in news and information.
Follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, www.radiocayman.gov.ky.
Radio Cayman, your voice, your choice, your radio.
A public service announcement from Radio Cayman. Coronavirus prevention tip. What is coronavirus? The novel coronavirus, COVID-19, is a new strain of coronavirus that has not been previously identified in humans. What are the symptoms? Common symptoms include respiratory symptoms of fever, cough, shortness of breath, breathing difficulties. In severe cases, coronavirus can cause pneumonia, severe acute respiratory syndrome, and kidney failure. How soon do symptoms occur? Symptoms occur 2 to 10 days after a person has been exposed. Is there a vaccine against coronavirus? Currently, there is no vaccine to protect against COVID-19. When a disease is new, it takes up to a few years for a new vaccine to be developed. For information, you can email questions to flu@hsa.ky or call one of the hotline numbers of 1-800-534-8600 or 947-3077. For the latest updates and information, please visit hsa.ky/coronavirus.
A violent shaking movement caused by impact, explosion, or tremor.
I am shocked and appalled.
This is the 4 o'clock shot block.
So leave with me again. Yeah, you got all my love to spend. Oh, let's find a place where happiness begins. We're gonna dance in my living room, slave to the way you move. Hurts when I'm leaving you. Hey, just dance in the living room, love with an attitude, drunk to an 80s groove. Hey, we're gonna dance in my living room, slave to the way you move. Hurts when I'm leaving you. So why would you fight or try to deny the way that you feel? Oh baby, you can't fool me. Your body's got other plans. So stop pretending you're shy. Just come on and dance, 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 dance. Oh. Early morning, la la light. Only getting up to close the blinds. Oh, I'm praying you don't change your mind, 'cause leaving now just don't feel right. Let's do it one more time. Oh, babe, come dance in my living room, slave to the way you move. Hurts when I'm leaving you. Just dance in the living room, love with an attitude, drunk to an 80s groove. Hey, we come dance in my living room, slave to the way you move. Hurts when I'm leaving you. Dance in the living room, love with an attitude, drunk. It's only you, man, you know that it's real. So why would you fight or try to deny the way that you feel? Oh baby, you can't fool me. Your body's got other plans. So stop pretending you're shy.